Everybody, how you doing? I'm Matt Dillahunty. Welcome to the Hang Up. I am so happy to be home. I was traveling over the last weekend. I got to see my mother for the first time since 2019. And I got to see my dad after some surgery stuff. And we were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. I figured I'd go through some news items to find out what I missed and what all we can talk about here. So it turns out Melania's movie was released and it was so bad, the $75 million documentary, maybe 40 to 75 million, made supposedly $7 million amid accusations of nefarious bulk ticket sales. But it was so bad that they released 3 million of the Epstein files, which of course includes the director of the Melania documentary. The Department of Justice claims they're done now, even though this is half of what was reported, and whistleblowers are already noting specific documents that are missing. You can search and read through those files yourself. We'll take a look at that and have some fun with it in just a minute. But it turns out they left some victims' names in, and they also left some CSAM in there. You can look up what that is if you don't know. And you're lucky if you don't know, kind of. And they are still hiding the names of folks who've clearly been involved in criminal acts, including sex trafficking. One of the posts I just saw just an hour or so ago was somebody sending an email to Epstein about how much fun they had and how the youngest or littlest of theirs was extra naughty. And I'm like, why? Everybody's like, why are you hiding this person's name? What's going on here? Are there going to be charges filed against people? What are we doing? The fallout from this is going to continue, but it's mostly going to be folks outside of the United States that are held responsible because the people in charge here aren't going to do anything because too many of them are in it. And the people who care and want justice don't have the power to do anything without some serious changes. Bits and pieces from the 3 million files have spawned speculation that Israel was involved in 9/11, that Epstein was Q, and that the QAnon lunacy about a demonic pedophile ring tied to pizza is in part true, but it seems a planted story so that when they were accused of doing what they'd already done, it would seem ridiculous. And it would be oh, now you're just accusing us of what we already said you did. Ha ha ha, how cute. As we head towards Super Bowl weekend, for people who care about that, Bad Bunny is going to be doing the halftime show. Bad Bunny, by the way, from Puerto Rico, which means he's a U.S. citizen. But that's not good enough for the Turning Point USA folks who want an all-American halftime show. So the Turning Point USA folks have put together this show with Kid Rock, who will be joined by Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett, 3 country artists. And this real American show is being headlined by Kid Rock, whose song lyrics include young ladies, I like them underage. See, some say it's statutory, but I say it's mandatory. And if that wasn't bad enough, that song is representative of the individual they chose for the show, it's also in the soundtrack to Osmosis Jones, a movie which scored higher with critics than Melania did, I'll point out. So Osmosis Jones, a kids movie, an animated movie, includes this specific Kid Rock song on its soundtrack. And that, by the way, is a better American message than having an American sing in Spanish. Also, Trump seems to have sharded himself in the Oval Office during a meeting. Hey, I shit my pants at an atheist convention. It happens. But this seems like it's not the first time, and it's based on reports that this may tie to his health issues. Speaking of health issues, Mitch McConnell has been hospitalized with flu-like symptoms. I don't have any health issues to report with Chuck Schumer other than that he is still spineless, a spineless shill for Israel, who stated in a recent speech that part of his job is to ensure aid for Israel. No, it's fucking not. Your job now is to resign and retire, collect your protected pension, and let someone willing to stand up for what's right take over. And just a few miles south of me, a MAGA dipshit attacked some protesting students got his ass beat by those students, and then went home and maybe shaved his head and his mustache. We're not completely sure about that part. It might have been an old mugshot. And then they arrested him. Bill and Hillary Clinton are going to be testifying about the Epstein files. They're both in them, and they wanted them all released. And let's be clear, everyone who diddled or trafficked or broke the law needs to be held accountable. Left, right, center, Republican, Dem, theist, atheist. We're going to have some fun here in a minute. You can search the Epstein files, by the way. Here they are. If you go to justice.gov/Epstein and acknowledge that you're over 18, you can search through the Epstein files. Let's give it a shot. Here we go. Trump. That's the obvious one. Wait, no results found? Please try a different search. How is that possible? I'm not a robot. I'm over 18. It's verified. We go here. Trump. Oh, there we go. 4,820 results for Trump. Let's try Clinton. Clinton, 3,298 results. I don't know why that keeps scrolling down. Wow, this browser thing's not working very well. Let's do Biden. Biden only has 527 results in the Epstein files. But you know what? We don't just deal with politics. I mean, politics is kind of a focus on Wednesday night. We also deal with atheism. Let's look up some atheists. So Richard Dawkins appears to have about 395 results in there. I can tell you that Sam Harris appears 65 times, but it's mostly about here's a book, here's a thing, here's somebody talking with him. You could look up Hitchens, 34 results, but that's not just Christopher Hitchens. There's Stacy Hitchens. I should have probably typed in Christopher Hitchens. Whoops. Gosh, this is fun. 14 results for Christopher Hitchens. Hey, what about Lawrence Krauss? Why? 5,919 entries, although they may not all be about Lawrence, because I didn't type a first name in. So let's try that. Oh, Lawrence Krauss only gets 5,209. You see, they were really good friends. And Lawrence was also accused of inappropriate interactions with women. And he came to Epstein's defense quite some time ago after the first conviction. You might be wondering, why is Richard Dawkins in the Epstein files? Well, Richard Dawkins in 2011 sent an email to John Brockman, who I think is a literary agent, but I'm not sure. And he said, there's a rather nasty young woman called Rebecca Watson who seems to be running some kind of witch hunt against Lawrence Krauss because of his defense of Jeffrey Epstein. There are people on her blog talking about organizing a walkout when Lawrence speaks at the amazing meeting in Las Vegas. I remember that you told me something of the circumstances of Jeffrey's arrest and that his case is not as black as painted. Might you possibly remind of it? So, Richard hears that Rebecca Watson is calling out Krauss, and she did, for defending a convicted sexual abuser, sex offender, sorry. And it had heard from John Brockman that Epstein's conviction wasn't necessarily as bad as he'd heard. And so he's wanting a refresher here, perhaps so that he can not be on the wrong side of all this. But they're not really happy with Rebecca, who, full disclosure, I know. And while we haven't spoken in years, I considered her a friend, at least in those early years. Then there's another one here. This is from Lawrence Krauss, talking about Rebecca Watson again. Ooh, this must be important. Rebecca Watson, who he calls the ringleader of the movement to impugn male atheists. So evidently Rebecca is just an evil, nasty woman who wants to shut down all the male atheists. And therefore they're going after Lawrence Krauss and Jeffrey Epstein. And I want to point out, having your name appear in the Epstein files isn't confirmation of anything other than you were mentioned. Epstein liked to collect connections, potentially blackmail, but he liked celebrities. He liked luminaries, authors, anybody who could make him look or feel important, and who he knew would need him, perhaps, other wealthy folks. And so some of these folks are probably guilty of nothing more than I met a rich guy who wanted to meet me or help me out or have a connection to me or help me with a project. And I didn't realize the full extent of who I was involved with. These, though, are after convictions. So they at least knew that they were dealing with, and here it is, Richard knew that he was dealing in some ways with a convicted sex offender, but perhaps didn't know the full extent of it. And you're only getting a story after the fact because the emails exchanges between Rebecca and Lawrence Krauss are in here as well, where Krauss says that, yes, Jeffrey paid for massages with sex, but he didn't know any of the girls were, he told me he didn't know any of the girls were underage, and I believed him. That was all the initial published thing. And see, so what we're back to is just, we're going to believe our boys. These folks definitely hung out with the guy, the king of sex offenders right now. But they hung out with him and even made excuses for him even after his conviction. Why? Did they have good reason to believe that he was wrongly convicted? No, he's just rich and a good way to get funding for stuff. But you can go to the Epstein files and you can search through there and you can read and see the context yourself and make up your own mind. And trust me, there will be people definitely doing extensive reports. David McAfee's already released a report on the 400 or so mentions of Dawkins in here. I think it's only available to his patrons right now, and I have not seen it because I've been busy and traveling. But you can see how many of these people were also mentioned, as Rebecca was, as a target. So there's a bunch of rich old men who were really bothered by this Skep chick pointing out their failings and talking about her and ways to, address the fact that she was calling out their failings. And then you can see that the rich old men were in there trying to cover up those failings, or they were trying to party with a billionaire, get money from a billionaire, cozy up to a billionaire after he's already been convicted of sex trafficking a minor, or where Krauss is defending Epstein and then asking him for advice in responding to the allegations against Krauss. J.K. Rowling is also in there, and this is also after 2008. You can go find out about it. There's also a trans woman in there, supposedly, who I was told was listed as a victim that Epstein also threatened. So there's at least one trans person in there as a victim and a whole bunch of transphobes seeking money, advice, sex, and parties. The rich and powerful aren't like the rest of us. The rules don't apply to them. They can do the worst things and still be praised, lauded, and protected. They live in a different world, and there are rarely consequences. The information in here accuses some of these folks of cannibalism, bestiality, homicide, cover-up, sex trafficking, CSAM and pedo stuff, buying, selling, and trading girls. Being a billionaire is already immoral. It's unlikely that there's any moral way to attain that degree of wealth, and it's definitely immoral to hoard it. At some point in I either started with $1 billion or somebody started with it, or I attained $1 billion. At some point, somebody was exploited. At some point, or continually, people were exploited throughout that process. Elon Musk lied, though that's not a surprise. If you'll fake your gamer cred, pretending that you're a better gamer than you were, then pretending that you didn't want to party with the king of the sex traffickers is an easy and predictable lie. It's just funny when you go read it that he seems to have always been the kid looking for inclusion and not getting it. It's sad, but now that he's the richest man alive, it's sad in a funny, pathetic way. So what is going to come of these Epstein files released? Not nearly enough. My prediction is there will be very little justice, because justice is almost impossible to define when the extent of the atrocities are this great. I'm sure we'll be talking about it for a while, but some of it's going to be salacious and gossipy. And that can be fun too. Here, for example, this film was released in 2013. It's called The Unbelievers. It starred Lawrence Krauss and Richard Dawkins. It was produced by Lawrence Krauss. And it contained interviews with a bunch of people, including Woody Allen, and there's Ricky Gervais, Cameron Diaz, Stephen Hawking, Sarah Silverman, Bill Pullman, Bill Maher, Stephen Colbert, Eddie Izzard, a bunch of people. What are you willing to believe? So, turns out when Krauss produced this, he sent a link to Epstein to get his thoughts on the film. Whoops, I got ahead of myself. You can, for your own entertainment, read Epstein's thoughts on this. I'm going to show you two emails. They're not exactly the same. One of them is a reply to the other one. The thing to note is that in the first one, there's a spot down here that is redacted. And in the second one, you can see that that is a link to the Vimeo link for the screener for the movie, along with the password. The password no longer works. I checked it. But Lawrence Krauss basically said, here's a link to the screener. Needless to say, this is quite confidential. Jeffrey Epstein said, "This is worst piece of crap I've seen. It is embarrassing beyond anything else you've done. The music at the end is the religious music. The fundamentalist Christina S., I'm going to assume it's Christians. Sarah Silverman, Ricky Gervais are brain dead. The crowd's cheering and intros are as nauseating as a Billy Graham revival." Graham's also spelled wrong. "Why don't you attack the belief that love lasts forever, that all people are created equal, that older women are as attractive and sexy as younger ones, that there's no scientific justification or proof of the concept of hope, that the feeling of love is a myth and has no scientific basis and should be discarded. The people, presentation, vitriol for others' beliefs is merely a different mental infection in a different guise. This was beyond distasteful stupid. Having Cameron Diaz say that knowledge is power and wasting the digital imprint on such drivel is an insult to the power of the bits that it took to describe this idiot." You can also learn that these people can't spell and don't care. But I find it interesting that Epstein's complained about the movie, this movie introducing the world to atheists as things were ramping up for public atheism, was that they didn't point out that love isn't real, it doesn't last forever, that people aren't equal, that older women aren't as attractive and sexy as younger ones, that there's no reason to be hopeful. What a sad, miserable, sick existence. And this is him talking to his scientist friend, not about humanism and humanist values, not about justice, not about atheism, just about how he should have spent more time shitting on love than he did platforming brain-dead stupidity like knowledge is power. Did his friend Lawrence Krauss agree? I don't know, but he sure kept sucking up to Epstein and making excuses to others. By the way, The Unbelievers scored a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes, getting higher reviews from the critics, but it only earned $14,400 at the box office. So clearly, when the billionaire doesn't like your film, they're probably not going to spend money to buy tickets in bulk to get people to watch it or to pretend like people watched it. By the way, they're gearing up to steal and eliminate elections, and they'll be using ICE as their enforcement arm. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more in the near future. We also know the names of the individuals who killed Alex Preddy, and I was wrong. These guys were with Customs and Border Patrol for many years, so they were not merely new, undertrained Proud Boys, which actually makes my thoughts about this worse, because it means that this isn't a new systemic problem. It's been there for ages, which is something we all should have already known, but has clearly come to light. While discussing the Alex Preddy murder with a friend who happens to be a Christian, they said that they just don't understand how other Christians can be supporting MAGA and ICE and Trump. And I didn't want to get into a fight, so I just let the comment slide. But it's not surprising. This is Project 2025. This is Christofascism. The KKK identifies as a Christian organization. The literalist view of the Bible, which is the easiest view to justify because it relies only on a plain reading of the text. It supports so much of what's going on. You can cherry pick verses to try to support other views. Cafeteria Christians, the feel-good faithful, the Easter and Xmas evangelicals, the I can read the Bible, but I'm not going to crowd, who don't have a clue about the Bible, its history, what it says, nor do they have any arguments or evidence for their views. They're just like your average apologists. They just know less. And so they aren't as likely to be as intentionally dishonest because they don't know what the Bible says, so they don't know what they need to hide. Tonight's guest, though, knows the Bible. Do you? Are you a Bible-believing theist who would like to defend the book, your version, and why your version is the right one? Is your right understanding of the Bible the one that supports slavery or not? Is it the one that supports misogyny or not? Is it the one that supports MAGA or not? The one that supports ICE or not? The one that supports Trump, Epstein, Musk, billionaires, justice or not? Why keep defending a book that at best is in conflict with itself and the world? Joining me tonight, Justin from Deconstruction Zone is here. I did not check to see if he is in the Epstein files or not.
Audience, you're welcome to search my name in the Epstein's files. You'll see that I'm off scot-free. However, the God of this Bible should be in the fucking Epstein files because he endorses sex trafficking, cannibalism, rape. If his name doesn't show up in here, I'll be surprised.
I would imagine if I didn't do a search for God, I should probably do that.
I bet the word God shows up there. It's got to be in there. I know there are some people right now, there's apologists shouting at the screen, God wouldn't do anything like that. He certainly does. Jeremiah 19:9, he says, I'm going to cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and daughters. He repeats it in Deuteronomy 28. And in the same chapter, he says he takes delight in bringing his people to ruin. And look at that. God is in the Epstein files.
22,497 times. God is in the Epstein. So not only is Trump in the Epstein files more than Jesus is in the Bible, but God is in the Epstein files more than God is in the Bible.
Called it.
Boom. There you go. God is in the Epstein files. That should have been the title of tonight's show. Is your God in the Epstein files? That would have been good. Wow, I come up with all these great titles and ideas afterwards. So how are you holding up, Justin? You clearly escaped the Epstein files.
Yeah, I'm doing well and just happy to be home. I was gone last week or so and looking forward to kind of getting back in the saddle and doing some cooking with friends.
Sweet. What are you cooking?
Oh, mostly apologists.
Tonight, we're serving apologist bolognese.
Unfortunately, my home cooking is not always edible. So I have to turn to this to save face.
Well, here we go. First of all, this is a call-in show. If you'd like to call in and defend your version of the Bible, your version of religion, you'd like to defend MAGA, it's getting to the point now where I don't expect anybody to actually call in and defend any of this. We get, trolls and prank calls and whatever else. But there are some people who are calling in, and I'm excited because genuinely, what Justin and I are looking for, and I will speak for both of us, and he can correct me, is to get some good conversations where maybe someone can show where we went wrong, how we went wrong, why we have missed this seemingly obvious truth about a God and morality and reality that we seem to have overlooked, because what we used to believe, we no longer believe. And there's a temptation to say, oh, I used to be just like you. I used to be a Christian, but I got better. But maybe we're not better. Maybe we're worse. And if you can show that that's the case, we'd like to not be worse, at least.
I mean, Matt, this could be the start of our actual apologist arc. The dirty, rotten atheists hear an argument they can't defeat. And now, we can start. Actually, we'll make our real money as apologists. That's where the real money is. We'll go on TBN. We'll do the whole tour. We'll get hooked up with Benny Hinn and throw coats at people.
just wave it. You don't have to throw the coat. You can just wave it and they just fall right over. It's like the super fan. We'll also be reading, after all of the calls tonight, we'll be reading super chats over $10. And before I go to the first call, once again, let's just be honest. I never know what's going on. I don't know who's going to be on any of the shows. I don't see a schedule. I'm a lazy bastard that just sits here and runs his mouth. So, hello, Arden. Do you have information that is useful to these people that I should have had?
Yes, and that information is pinned in the main Discord chat that anyone can access, including you. But that's okay. I'll read it.
Thank you.
So tomorrow on TACIS at 2 p.m. Central Time will be Luxander and Josie Caballero. This Saturday on Cus I Wanna, John Gleason is bringing in Black Atheist Rants for a Cus I Wanna episode. So you can check that out. Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time is going to be Matt with Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels. I know a lot of you guys, Eric's back for the first time in a little while. Sunday after dark will be Forrest Valkai and Promise together for an After Dark episode. We haven't had that pairing in a while. Monday on Skeptalk will be Forrest Valkai and Erica Gutsa Gibbon. Dear Lord, help us. Then Chewed Gum will be Alyssa Lube and Taylor's Skeptical Heretic on Tuesday. And then next Wednesday, right here, back on the Hang Up, will be Matt joined by Dalton, the Bible guy.
Awesome.
Oh, excited. Fantastic.
All right. So we've got callers queued up. Let's go ahead and get started. And I just want to point out real quick. I genuinely want the best conversation we can. All I'm really asking is for people to be honest, take a breath. Don't try to rush a whole bunch of stuff through. Be patient with the delay. I will try to be patient with the delay as well. Be ready to clarify. We're going to interject. We're going to have questions. And some things we're going to have to kind of get remedial on so that we make sure everybody understands it. And that's something that I've failed at, because after doing this for 20 some odd years now, sometimes I rush to the end or ask the question that exposes stuff, but only to the people who've done this for 20 years or however long. So let's try. And also, we ask people for their preferred pronouns. We do that to be respectful, because not everybody prefers to use a pronoun that might normally be associated with their voice or their name. It's just a courtesy to say, how would you like us to refer to you, so that we're not insulting people. Some people, like this first caller, choose not to offer any pronouns. I'm just going to assume that they don't have a preference, and that I can't possibly get it wrong. So here we go. Cortez is calling from New Jersey. Cortez is a theist that says, isn't anyone choosing what they want with their body, but their big problem with the trans issue is, why do trans people have to lump their social issue with African issues? Hey, Cortez, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Yeah, that is my issue. I mean, I'm all for, people doing what they want to do with their own body, but sometimes it gets hard to ride with people that sometimes use my culture as a staple to win an argument about their problems in a social life.
I don't know what you're talking about. Can you give an example?
Trans issues are trans issues. African issues is African issues. I don't understand how we can be the same, fighting the same social battle. Like,
that's not an example.
African.
That's not an example, Cortez. That's just describing the thing. So the reason I didn't want to just jump in and give an answer without an example is, when you're talking about the social values, when you're talking about the rights of marginalized groups, who there are going to be similarities, and some groups are going to be analogous to each other, not identical, and some groups are going to overlap. In particular, there are people who are black and trans, and so there's going to be overlaps on those issues. But can you give an example of what you're concerned about or what you're objecting to?
I'm objecting to the simple point of someone choosing to change something on their body to almost look at the African plight that's in America to be like, oh, that's similar to us. No, to me, I say that as a slap in the face, kind of. Like I wouldn't go
That's
to
still
another
not an
culture
example,
and
Cortez. That's still not an
oh,
example.
okay, okay, I'll give you an example.
Thank you.
When it comes to discrimination or people being hateful towards trans people, I think it's sometimes wrong, but you can't be like, well, that's the same hatred rhetoric that they was using towards Africans in America. No, it wasn't.
Okay. If somebody's saying they're identical, I would probably disagree with that. But discrimination against a minority group is going to be analogous between different groups. They're not going to be identical, but they're going to face a lot of the same issues.
I don't understand how one is a choice and another one is not.
Oh,
Me being
so first of all,
African is not a choice.
Cortez, real quick, you're wrong. Neither of them is a choice. And second of all, even if one was a choice and one's not, it's still discrimination against a minority, but it's not a choice.
Well, I disagree with you, Matt.
Well, you're
I just
factually
don't.
wrong.
Okay, I just don't understand how uh, someone um, someone changing something on their body, they have
That's
that right.
that,
I wouldn't
Cortez,
well,
Cortez,
I wouldn't disparage them from
Cortez,
doing it, but
Cortez. Being trans has nothing to do with changing something on your body. Not trans people don't have to change anything on their body. Many do, and many don't. That's not what being
yeah,
trans
but
is, and that's not what being trans is, and that's not what the discrimination is. Being trans is about who one is, and there's no more choice in that than there is in the melanin in your skin, or anything else.
well, for me being African, I didn't have to change anything about myself or go to the
Correct. And a
doctor.
trans person didn't have to change anything about themselves to be vilified and maligned either. They just had to make someone aware that they were trans. You have the slight difference that if your skin is a different color, that's pretty obvious right off the bat. There's nothing you can do about this. So if somebody's saying they're equivalent, I would disagree. But if someone's saying that the type of discrimination, basically this is a bigotry, where someone knows something about a person, and therefore that knowledge, whether it is their skin color, their sexuality, their gender, that is used against them to further marginalize them. That's the part that's similar. Does that make sense?
No, because I don't think I don't think, and if they are getting kicked out of a job, their apartment, something like that, that's wrong. I don't stand for that. But I don't stand for this kind of policy of, well, you can't never criticize what people say, or you can never criticize someone else's thoughts. If we
I'm
lived in
sorry. I'm
America,
sorry, Cortez, but I'm not aware of any such policy, nor am I aware of what that has to do with your concerns about African American issues. You seem to have
because
changed the
the
topic.
eight, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
No, I just said you seem to have changed topic, but
No, it's kind of the same thing because for me, the word transpose don't mean much to me. It just means that you don't have the capability to understand, in my opinion, of where someone else is coming from. Now, uh, you say um, people are getting discriminated against when it comes to their job, their housing, and that's wrong. But I don't call discrimination of just saying, you know what, you have a right to look at your body and describe it how you want to, but I'm not going along with it, and that's okay. That's why
I'm
I think
sorry.
trans
I'm
is
sorry. I'm sorry, Cortez. Who's telling you that you have to go along with it, and how would you know?
I see it on TV. I see it on politics. Anytime someone criticizes a trans person or the ideology of how they look at their body, it's always a battle. It's always, oh, you wouldn't do this to an African person. Do what? African
I'm
folks
sorry.
get
I'm sorry,
criticized all the
Cortez.
time.
Are you saying that people should be able to publicly speak ill of trans people and not be challenged by others?
You can get challenged. I'm not saying
Okay,
you can't be
then
challenged,
what is
but it goes
Cortez?
both ways.
Cortez, listen. What is it you're complaining about? Because it sounds like you're saying I should be allowed to shit on trans people without consequences. Why?
I should be able to criticize their thought about their own body, especially when they come up and they talk like they've been through the African struggle in America. I
Okay.
mean, I don't see
Who's telling
people
you that you
jumping around
can't?
them.
Who's telling you that you can't? Because I support your right to say what you want, but I also support the right of people to point out that you're being a dick sometimes when you do, and they can be right or wrong. They have the same free speech rights you have.
Okay, but when I called a couple of days ago, I called for the first time, and then I called again. Your host was very rude to me, and when I said something about it, oh, now I'm the bad guy. Now I'm the bully.
You
But
are the
I'm
bad
just
guy and the
saying
bully.
what
If
most
you if
people
you're
are
saying
saying.
terrible things about people and they point and they're rude to you, it's because they view you as a bad guy and the bully. If you're not being a bully, then they're wrong, and if you are being a bully, then they're right. So what's your objection?
Why is me just saying plain facts that I'm
What
a
plain
male,
fact?
I'm an African because of my body? Now,
What
I will say, like I said before, it's terrible that people discriminate against
I could be
people,
wrong, but
but at the same,
Cortez, it sounds like what you're not saying is that you're transphobic and that you've told some people some hateful shit and you're mad that they didn't take it well. That's what it sounds like. I'm just an outside observer on this conversation, but that's what it sounds like to me.
okay, but how is that transphobic? How is me saying I can look at someone's body and they can have their own opinion about their own body structure, and
Well,
it doesn't mean I
I
have to
heard
be right, but
I heard Matt already address this. Were you listening?
yeah, but it's still happening. And this is where I think it's going to come down to a civil war. I don't want it. I don't want to
That's
see
it.
people getting hurt. I want
you think
a
the
functioning
fact that
society.
you don't understand something, want to express your bigotry without consequences is going to lead to a civil war? I think there's plenty of other things that are going to lead to a civil war. Let me tell you right now that not only do we do a show, you should call tomorrow to the Transatlantic Call-In show tomorrow, and you can talk to some actual trans people who might probably will be able to explain this much better than Justin and I can. But the issue here is that what do you think transphobic means?
It means that I don't go along with their theory about their own body.
Okay. Actually, whether or not you go along with it is irrelevant. And by the way, nobody's really asking you to go along with it. What trans folks are wanting more than anything else is an average lifespan and the dignity of not being everybody's boogeyman and being allowed to live their life. My wife's trans. She doesn't give a shit whether what gender you think she is or what you think about her views. What do you think about trans ideology at all? She only cares about how you treat her. And if you treat her well and support her rights, then we could probably be friends or at least not enemies. And if you're shitty to her, you're being transphobic and she will call it out, as will I. What's the problem with
What
anything I
social
just
rights
said?
that
What?
he
I'm
doesn't
sorry.
have?
I'm
Or
sorry, Cortez.
what
Cortez.
social
I'm sorry.
rights?
I'm sorry, Cortez. I'm still fucking talking. I know that's difficult for some people. What was wrong with anything I just said?
Because for you, you're talking about special rights
I'm
that
not talking about special rights. I didn't mention any specific rights. How can you accuse me of talking about special rights when I didn't even mention any specific rights?
So how do your wife, even though I disagree how she characterized her body,
I don't give a
how
shit.
you
And the fact that
okay,
you
but
the fact that you
then
had to chime
how
in with that, the fact that you had to chime in with that instead of staying on topic or actually answering the question that I posed shows that you're a bigot.
you was talking about special rights. You said,
No,
oh,
sir.
they want to be
No, sir.
treated
No,
well. They
sir.
want
Okay,
to
I'm
be
going to
treated
mute you
civil.
because I don't do well with liars. I didn't mention any specific rights. I did not mention special rights at all. You are doing nothing but parading your ignorance and bigotry right now. And you even had to do so by making sure that we all knew you don't agree with my wife's view. Cool. You can be shitty and I can call you out and I can hang up on you. But you're going to answer the question that I fucking asked you and not some other question. What was wrong with anything that I said? What's wrong with people having different views and calling them out when people disagree or when people are harsh or rude or hostile about them? That's what's supposed to happen. I want to know what was wrong with what I said, not what you imagine I said or what the special rights you think I'm advocating for because you are monumentally ignorant about who trans people are and what they want. I want to know what was wrong with what I actually said. So let's try this again. I'm going to unmute you. Please tell me what was wrong with what I actually said.
It is okay. It is saying, oh, they want to be treated well. Okay. But what's that treatment entail? See, for me, you want it both ways. You want me to be like a good.
I'm sorry, Cortez. I'm going to mute you again because that's how I maintain my patience in front of fucking liars. I've asked you what was wrong with what I said. And you went from I'm advocating for special rights when I didn't to now you're pretending that you can read my mind and that I want it both ways. I want it both ways. You know what I want? I want you to be honest and answer the question I asked, which is very fucking simple. What was wrong with what I said about the right to express views and the right to call people out for that? What was wrong with that view? Please let me know.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Thank you.
You have to
Appreciate
give
your
the same.
call. Goodbye.
There we go.
Since we don't disagree, since everything that I said was right, there was nothing wrong with it, and you agree, there's no reason for us to continue. But I would highly recommend, ma'am, that you call the Transatlantic Call-In show tomorrow and see if maybe you're willing to be educated on the things that you don't understand. Don't get me wrong. The plight of African Americans in the United States is, in some ways, almost incomparable to anything I can imagine other people enduring. The history of the slave trade, the absolute vile systemic racism that has been baked into the system that is absolutely terrible injustice on a regular basis, the gaslighting that is going on of the Black community at large by saying, hey, this is how we see, this is what's happening to us. This is what cops are doing. This is, this is what's going on. This is how we're being sidelined. The racism as expressed by Charlie Kirk and others with the racism of lowered expectations and, oh, look, let me compare this society to this one. That is frustration that I can at least understand. But it turns out you didn't give an example of anybody actually doing that with regard to trans stuff. And instead, you decided that you would just ignore the questions at hand and pretend that I'm advocating for special rights when I'm not. By the way, I use the special rights line in a number of debates where people on other sides of things are actually advocating for special rights. And I should point out that you seem to be the one that's wanting special rights. You want to be able to talk about people and not allow them the freedom to talk about you as well. That would be a special right. That would be, I get to be a dick and you don't get to call me a dick. Well, I do get to call you a dick. I absolutely do. I do get to point out that you're being a bigot. I do get to point out that you're being a transphobe. I also get to point out that you don't know what a transphobe is, that you don't seem to know what trans folks want. And there could have been a conversation about why one minority group or a member of a minority group might be bothered by their reality, their truth, I hate those two terms, but I understand that's the best way to do it. Their history being co-opted by some other group. But this is what they want. And by they, I mean the people who are shitting on all minorities. They want you to be in competition with trans people, as if this is a zero-sum game, as if, oh, you can't get ahead until you punish those other people like we're punishing them. How dare they pretend like they've seen what you haven't seen the shit I've seen. Okay, maybe they haven't. How much shit does somebody need to see? How much shit do they need to endure before you stop othering them the way you've been othered?
How much you think there'd be some empathy there as someone who's suffered? You'd think you'd see somebody else suffering and try to empathize with it, but that's not what we saw.
It's really wild. All right. We have a theist, and theists are always going to take priority on this show. And since I spoke a lot during that last one, I'm going to let Justin's here. I don't really have to do much work at all 90% of the time, other than telling Arden to make an announcement. I get to be the laziest person on the planet, but I probably won't be.
We're both going to have some fun with this one.
Calling from Romania, I think it's Kozlob. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Pronouns are he, him, believes the president proves God the complexity of the world around us. I don't, let's just pretend that we got no summary at all, because I have no idea what that means. So, Kozlob, how do I pronounce your name? Are you there? This is so weird because Kozlob is ball sack backwards, and this person's called in 4 times with a different name from a different place, previously a deist from New Hampshire. So I'm going to guess that Kozlob there, whose name is ball sack backwards,
definitely a troll,
is definitely a troll that just got completely busted because he's too stupid to know when he's actually on, so that he can do his Baba Booey before he gets booted.
He didn't even tell the screener to spell ballsack right.
Yeah. That might have given it away, though, with the KC, but cool.
Actually, probably the same Romanian phone call that was trying to troll Forrest and I a couple weeks ago. I suspect it's a repeat.
It could be. It's funny because, we're here. Justin and I are, you get your chance. We've taken on people with trans questions, people with Bible questions, people. You can call in and say, I would love it. If you think that Justin or myself, either one, are wrong about something, call in and tell us what we're wrong about. Because, well, we haven't known each other very long, or especially well. I know Justin well enough to know that, like me, Justin would rather not be wrong. If somebody can show that we're wrong, we'd rather stop being wrong.
My next live stream would be God is real, prove me wrong. So
yeah, that's the whole thing here is I think people are wrong. And so I explain why I think people are wrong. If I were to call in to a theist or Christian apologist show, there would be nothing but honesty in me pointing out, hey, here's what I think you're wrong about. Here's what I think you haven't met your burden of proof on. Here's where I think you're engaged in a fallacious argument. Here's where I'm getting ready to do a video probably in the next month. And then, sorry, Justin helped spawn this, though he doesn't know it. And it's, how much do you really need to know about the Bible?
Well, that sounds fun.
I know a lot. I don't know anywhere near what Justin knows. I don't know what Dan McClellan knows. I don't know what Bart Ehrman knows. I don't know what the big scholars know. But I know more than the average person in any pew in any church anywhere right now, on average at least. And I know too much. And so the issue is, do I know too much? Or do I not know enough? How much do you need to know? How relevant is the Bible? And what conclusions can you reach about it?
There's a reason why the Catholic Church tried to prevent people from reading it.
We're going to take a call that, here we go. We don't have theists right now. So Ben's calling. Ben's an atheist from California. Pronouns are him, who feels that what ICE is doing is fully justified and that protesters like Alex Preddy were interfering, same as Renee Good, who was blocking the road. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
So
I support Trump on some of the issues, and I fully support ICE. And I'm against people who are going against ICE, like protesting, causing issues, blocking roads, attacking cops' cars. Those are making the situation worse than it is. And I think if somebody came to the country illegally, they should be removed.
Ben, do people deserve due process?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Why are you supporting an organization that is denying due process?
I don't think it's denying due process.
They absolutely are. This is an undeniable fact. They are not following due process. They are not. They're required to have a warrant from a federal judge, and they have to follow the process to show that the person that they want to capture and deport is in fact the right person. And they're not doing that, and judges are busting them on it. And they're actually actively, we've already found out this week, lying and getting warrants that aren't from federal judges and just saying, we have a warrant, hoping that the people that they're trying to take are too stupid to know the rules on this. Meanwhile, I'll ask you another question. On the day that Alex Preddy was shot, what did he do that deserved his death?
He was resisting arrest.
No, he wasn't.
He was acting violent.
No, he wasn't. I mean, the video footage is there for all of us to see. He was holding a camera, directing traffic. There wasn't even a protest. There were people monitoring ICE, which they are legally allowed to do. A woman was shoved down by the ICE agent. Preddy, an ICU nurse, tried to help her and assist her. And the ICE agents, 6 of them, pepper sprayed him, pulled him away, removed his gun, and then shot him 10 times. How is any of that justified when the person did not make any violent motion towards anybody, did not engage in any illegal activity?
So when the ICE person who was dealing with the woman, when Alex came, tried to help her, that's interfering with the federal law. You can't interfere with the cop or ICE
No,
agent.
it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And if it was, is that deserving of death?
No, but he
Correct.
he put himself in those situations that will increase the risk of
You're
death.
a terrible person, Ben. When somebody gets raped and they were in a short, yes, you are. When somebody gets raped and they were in a short skirt, do you tell them they had it coming because they wore an outfit that enticed someone?
I didn't get that.
Okay. If some girl dresses really, listen to me very carefully. If some girl dresses really, really slutty and she winds up getting sexually assaulted, would you say it's her fault?
No, it's not.
Cool. Then fuck you for suggesting it's Alex's fault for filming.
Why are you doing
ICE.
analogies to something very different?
Oh, no, I'm not. This guy was killed for filming. This guy was killed. I have
a question.
This guy was killed. I haven't finished talking yet.
Yeah.
This guy was killed for filming them with his hand raised, doing nothing violent and trying to help a woman. And his last words were, "Are you okay?" If you think you can justify ICE agents killing someone, you don't care about due process. You don't care about rights. You don't care. And what's to prevent them from doing it to you?
So you're just focused on the killing part. You're not focused on the past 10 seconds. If a cop is arresting somebody, can you go up to the cop or the person
The cop
and talk
wasn't
to them or
arresting that
engage or
woman.
interfere?
The cop
woman was
wasn't
not under
arresting
arrest.
anybody.
Well, you said that there was a person, they were dealing with another woman, and then they
No,
shoved
not
her
her.
down,
No,
right?
see, have you not only, you clearly haven't watched the footage or listened to what was actually said. A woman was pushed down by the agent, and Peretti went
Yes.
to help her and protect her. That is not illegal. That is not violence toward the officer. The officer was violent towards another person, another citizen. Where were you born,
Was that
Ben?
agent next
Ben,
to that woman?
Ben, where were you born?
When?
Where?
Oh, where? Turkey.
Turkey. Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
How do I know?
Oh, you don't know.
How would an ICE agent know? You do realize they've literally walked up to people who don't sound typically American and asked, where were you born? And then harassed them and cuffed them when they refused to answer. You don't have to answer that.
Well, sure, but statistically, if you target certain demographic, you would have a likelihood of finding illegal. It makes sense. It's statistics.
You think I'm sorry that you don't understand the law, but it's not legal for them to run around randomly checking people who might be illegal to determine if they're legal. That's not what the law is. That's not what due process is. You don't even understand due process. Justin, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Due process can happen.
No, I mean, it's
after,
100%
not
true.
before.
So if you have a green card, they're allowed to ask you for your green card. If you're a citizen, you don't have to carry your citizenship on you. I know this because my ex-wife was a U.S. citizen after she immigrated to the USA, but she had a green card for a period of 3 years prior to getting her citizenship. So I'm going to assume you don't know anything about our laws here. Not a damn thing.
How'd you become a
You
citizen?
actually haven't. You definitely hasn't watched the video. You're watching that video the same way Christians are reading the book. You're just listening to what somebody else
I
told you
watched
about.
both videos from different
So
days.
there's a guy, you certainly didn't. There's a guy who helped a woman getting up, who was pushed down, who was not actively being arrested or being detained. And because this guy got near a cop, they pounced on him. That was it. Or an ICE agent. That was it. He didn't do anything wrong. Keep in mind, his job is to care for others. He's a nurse. He's doing what nurses do, helping people.
Not when
So
there's
the guy
a situation
is acting
going
out
on
of
with the ICE
goodwill.
agents.
It doesn't matter if there's a situation. You don't get to murder somebody because they bumped you. You don't get to murder somebody because they're in your way. You only
You
ever
don't
get to
interfere
shoot somebody
with the
if
federal
it's
law as
actually.
well.
It doesn't fucking matter. You don't get
they're
to
not
murder
interfering,
people.
and even if you do, you don't get to kill them.
You don't get to murder people even if they're interfering. The only time you are ever allowed to discharge your weapon is in self-defense and in fear of your life. That wasn't present. That man was not a threat to anyone.
Yeah, I get the killing part, but my point is that as long as there are people who are going
No,
and
you don't
causing
get the killing
issues,
part. Nope. You don't get the
Like-
killing part, because
like
if you got the
Rene
killing
didn't
part,
have a
then you
gun,
wouldn't be
but
defending
she
the
was
murder of
blocking
this
the
man.
road.
So we'll start from the beginning.
Renee was pulling away and was not threatening anyone at all. You're saying she deserved to be shot too?
No, again, I'm not saying these people deserve to die. I'm saying
Then shut your fucking mouth
what
and
they did-
deal with the
what they
actual
did was
issue.
wrong. They
I
caused
don't
the death.
care. I don't care if you think what they did was wrong. The thing is, it was wrong to kill them. Do we at least agree it was wrong to kill them?
Well, the Rene situation
Was
is
it
debatable because she was accelerating towards the cop.
Was it fucking wrong to kill them? Yes or no?
Which one? Rene's situation?
The fact
As
that
a
you even have to
self-defense,
ask
yes.
which
If
one, you
somebody
are a
accelerating, you can't shoot them.
you are a monumental piece of shit. It was wrong to kill both of them. And if you cannot say that, your moral compass is broken, your understanding of the law is broken, and you are looking for excuses.
No, I'm not. I'm
That's what it sounds
saying
like to me.
people shouldn't go and protest against federal.
That is a right. Are you aware that, are you, okay, I'm going to mute you because you're too stupid to actually be a U.S. citizen. I don't know what citizenship test you passed.
He didn't pass the test, no way.
But the citizens of the United States have a right to peacefully protest. They have a right to free speech. They are not required to do this. I don't know what they fucking taught you in Turkey or what goes on in Turkey, but that's not US law. These people, even if they violated a law, should have been arrested, not killed. Only a troll or a monumental idiot or a grossly immoral person could ask, when you're asked, was it wrong to kill them? Which one? Let's try this again, Ben. I'm going to ask you a really simple question. Of the two of them, Alex Pretty or Renee Good, which one was it right to kill? Go ahead.
I think I was muted.
Yeah, you were muted. That's why I unmuted you now. And I want you, no, sure. Stop.
I'm answering.
Stop.
Okay.
I want you to answer the question I just asked. Of those two, which one was it correct for the law enforcement to kill?
As a self-defense, Renee's situation is justified. But
You're
Alex,
so full of shit. There was no self-defense there. So you're saying it was okay to kill Renee?
Yes, because she was accelerating towards the agent. That's a crime.
No, she was not. That's also, I'm sorry, that's also a lie. You're clearly someone who hasn't bothered to watch this. They've gone through frame by frame of that. Her last words, by the way, were the dude, I'm not mad at you. She was getting mixed instructions. Those officers, by the way, have no right to stop her or detain her or try to enter her car, which is what they were doing. You don't even know what the limits are on these ICE agents. You are like the modern Supreme Court that wants to turn Trump into a king. You want to turn ICE into law enforcement gods. They had no right to detain her. They have no right to try to enter her vehicle. She was pulling away. If you're standing in front of her off to that side, as that officer who killed her was, you could not only see her face, but you could see her hands, what direction she is looking, and how she is turning. Those wheels were turned to go away from that officer. There is no case for self-defense at all. There is no threat. And the fact that you're excusing it tells me that you are either trolling or monumentally dishonest and haven't even watched it. The footage has been gone through frame by frame. So you're okay with people killing Renee Good. I want you to say, you've been muted this whole time. The fact that you're still fucking talking is embarrassing. I need you to say, yes, it was right to murder Renee Good.
No, I'm not going to say that. You don't even let me talk. You're just talking
with your full
You're
chest,
right.
Ben.
I don't let you talk, and that's why I hung up on you, because you will not have the courage of your convictions, and you will not say what you think. I don't think you're for real.
You know what? Let's get him back to the theists. I don't think we want him on the atheist side.
Yeah. I hope when they come to deport your ass back to Turkey, you have a better understanding of the law. Because, by the way, you might be a U.S. citizen. I don't know. But whether you're a citizen or not, that due process applies to all persons, not citizens. And the due process must be filed before you scoop up the person, not after, like you tried to say. You have some serious fundamental misunderstandings of the law, and it is absolutely embarrassing and disgusting. I'd rather have the non-citizens here than a naturalized citizen who excuses the murder of anyone, citizen or otherwise, in violation of due process. You're an embarrassment to reason. You're an embarrassment to the United States. You're an embarrassment to citizens. You're an embarrassment to the Constitution. I don't believe you're real. I think you're a troll. I think you called in to say, I bet I can spin these guys up by suggesting that these people who got killed deserved it or brought it on themselves. And the fact that you didn't understand the analogy, maybe it's too entrenched in common U.S. culture, but there was a long period of time in the United States in particular, and it still happens, where slut shaming was used to essentially say, hey, if you go out wearing that skirt, you're asking for it. If you go out dressed like that, you're asking for it. It's just like leaving your house with your door unlocked. You're asking to be robbed. No, I'm not. I should be able to leave my door unlocked. Well, if you do that, you're stupid. Somebody should rob you. Wow. Where's the compassion? Where's the defense of people's rights? Why should I have to lock my door? Why should I have to dress the way you want me to dress? Why should I have to dress in a way that keeps you? This is what we get from cultures that put their women in bags because their men can't control things if they see anything more than a fucking ankle. Somebody call ICE. We got a Turkish agent.
It's almost more depressing to think that he was a real person than being a troll. It's hard to believe that we have to share space with people like that.
Okay. We've got a Justin calling for Justin. So I will bow. Justin for Tennessee, pronouns he, him, is an atheist who wants to understand the end game on salvation. So Justin, welcome to Justin.
Hello, Justin. Yeah, I remember
How you doing, Justin?
found you the other day. So I'm curious, since you went to theology school, right? See, I think oh, sorry. I can't
Although
hear
Matt did some school as well. He's no slouch.
We're not going to count that. I'm a self-taught guy.
I've got degrees in history and minors in 3 other things. But my question is, am I correct or wrong on salvation? That's God's choice and not man's, from what I understand.
Soteriology.
I'm not.
So is there one answer, Justin? Feel free to essay your ass off.
Yeah, this would be the hard thing. So the problem is in the Bible, there's no clear answer. We've got lots of passages that would indicate that God chooses you, like John 6:44. It's a classic example. Jesus says, "No one comes to me unless already drawn by the Father who sent me, and He will raise up that person on the last day." Classics like Romans chapter 9, where Paul says that it's not by human will or exertion, but on the mercy of God. And some of us have just been created to be vessels of wrath. Ephesians chapter 1, God says that the elect were chosen before the creation of the world. Revelation says that the Lamb was slain prior to the foundation being laid for the world. So we've got a lot of passages that would seem to indicate that God is predestining people. And the Psalms. So in the Psalms, like 139 is a classic example where David is saying, "In your book was written for me all the days when none of them had yet existed." So if God is writing your days for you, and He's the one who's molded you because He's the potter and you're the clay, that means whatever happens to you is basically His doing. And also, if God created everything and He's all knowing and all powerful, that means this instantiation of the world was His choosing, right? He had a infinite number of models he could have went with, infinite number of different recipe parameters he could have went with, and He chose this one, which means He chose the model where you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and He was perfectly happy with that. So in the God world, determinism seems to reign free. The only reason why free will gets into the mix is because there needs to be a method or a theology for explaining why humans need to be punished, why God is so mad that He has to torture humanity. And the only way to do it is to say that a punishment requires some kind of a free will choice. God couldn't punish you for something He predestined you to do. So they're fighting in this struggle. Why is some bullshit happening to us that's horrible? Well, God's mad at us. Okay, well, if God's mad at us, that means we must have done something, which means it's our choice. So that tension runs all throughout the Bible. You're never going to find a satisfactory answer to the question, does the Bible teach free will or not free will? Because the Bible doesn't have a firm position either direction.
I mean, I could argue Proverbs 16:4 and Revelation, I think it's 4:12, where everything's done for God's will, according to the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for His glory, too. But I think those are more security for the believer than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I've studied the Bible well enough, and I make every Christian that wants to be fundamentalist and not like me with that thing. I can't quote them verses like you, like some, but I can run them. It's just like trying to get them to show me Jesus is the Messiah. When Jesus argues,
They'll never be able to do that. Yeah.
Or Jesus is a false prophet based on his own thing, based on his own words, if they're correct.
I had a co-host and a friend for a number of years who called the Bible the big book of multiple choice. And specifically because I've said before, one of my all-time favorite debates was actually between Matt Slick and Jesse. I'm sorry, I've forgotten Jesse's last name, but they're both Christians. And it was about kind of, in some sense, this subject, soteriology. What must I do to be saved? And Jesus is asked this directly and provides his answer. And then, Paul has his view, and James's view is more about works, to the point that it almost wasn't even included in the Bible. And so you get all these different answers, and it depends on what you pick. And so in this debate between Matt and Jesse, it was really great because both of them presented verses that, in their view, clearly supported their perspective, and the other person not once, that I recall, said, "Oh, no, you've misunderstood that verse. Oh, no, that's not what that verse means." Instead, the other person presented different verses that they thought supported theirs. So you've got two people who both think they're right, who both think that they have a good understanding of the path to salvation, who are both defending it with Bible passages, who are unable to show that the other person has made an error or misunderstood. All they did was go back and forth presenting different verses. This reminds me, although it didn't include different verses, it reminds me of the time where I stood in front of 4 apologists who were all offering different justifications for the biblical take on slavery. And what I said to them is, okay, you guys work this out, and when you come up with the right answer that the 4 of you agree on, you bring it to me and I'll address that one. But I'm not going to sit here and watch you 4 battle each other. I'm irrelevant. When you guys figure out what your book actually supports, let me know, and I'll address that. There's a number of reasons that Christianity and all the religions that are popular today, they've survived because they provide some semblance of hope. They provide some appearance of answers, and they don't make specific enough claims to completely toss them out. And as we find out more and more things about what's not true about them, what's demonstrably false, or what is unable to be demonstrably true, the area for God and Christianity, the doctrines that are viable, get diminished. And that's why you have these modern gay-friendly churches in San Francisco, and my Christian friend who doesn't understand why Christians support MAGA. And yet you also have Westboro Baptist Church, and you have the Heritage Foundation, and you have Project 2020. You can make this stuff say whatever you want. And so this is why I was eager to hear what Justin's take on this question is, because I know soteriology is a complete fucking mess. It's embarrassing. It's almost as embarrassing as the fact that God doesn't come along and address any of the problems between the thousands of denominations.
Oh, that too, besides the history of it. I mean, I see First Peter 3:15 used a lot trying to get Christians. I'd rather use Colossians, I think it's chapter 4, verses 5 and 6, where they're supposed to know the answer, and they don't know it. But I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. I hope that was a good, at least a quick discussion with you there, Justin. I've got a theist caller on hold, and I'm sure we'd all, maybe he'll have an answer for us.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Y'all
Justin.
have a good one.
Good to hear from you, Justin.
You too.
I know one thing about the Christians. Everyone I've ever talked to is the only one that's doing it right.
I also just said we had a Christian on hold who might be able to answer this question, and that's actually not necessarily true. There's a theist who may not be a Christian. So my apologies if I got that part wrong. But Alexander's calling from Alabama. Pronouns are he, him. Wants to ask us what it would take to give faith another chance. Welcome to the show, Alexander. How are you?
How you doing today, Matt? And the other
Justin.
guy?
Other guy. I feel so good
yeah.
because it means I'm not irrelevant yet.
I didn't know your name. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It means I'm not irrelevant yet. I'll take it. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
So it says here you want to ask us what it would take to give faith another chance. What exactly do you mean by faith?
A reasonable explanation as to why I believe. Oh, why someone believes.
Your definition of faith is a reasonable explanation for a belief.
Yes.
Okay. I'm already ready to give that version of faith a chance. I will accept any reasonable explanation for any belief. Do you have a reasonable explanation? Because to me, faith is the excuse people give for believing when they don't have a good reason. I want a good reason. What God do you believe in, and what's the good reason that Justin and I should believe it?
So, I believe that God shows people his existence in his and their own way. So I don't see how I could really generalize a personal experience when I believe that everyone goes to him in their own way.
So I don't know which God you're advocating for, but let's just go with what you said. What's the difference between God
I meant to
showing...
call in as a Christian.
Okay, fine. What's the difference between you thinking that God shows people his existence in his and their own way, and people just believing what they want and God's not even there?
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. What's the difference between God shows people his existence in his and their own way, and people believe that God is revealing himself to them, even if he's not? How do we tell the difference between those two scenarios?
There's no difference, really.
Don't you think we should be able to tell the difference? Because if you can't tell the difference between God is revealing himself and God doesn't exist, but people think he's revealing himself, that seems to be kind of important, right?
Yes, I agree.
And did I just short circuit the entire conversation with one question? So do you still believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have a good reason?
I believe he saved my life, but I mean,
if you're right that God saved your life, that would be a good reason to believe in him. But how do you tell whether or not? I believe you believe that. I have plenty. I used to believe God did all kinds of stuff. I think Justin believed that God did all kinds of stuff too. But believing God does stuff and God actually doing stuff, that to me seems like an important distinction. How would you tell whether or not God saved your life versus you just think God saved your life when he didn't?
It seemed like after I started giving faith another chance, I started seeing weird patterns in life that were kind of just correlating with everything I was going through. And then I started giving a bit too much meaning into it, and I started understanding what you said by beliefs can, beliefs can be harmful because you believe in one thing, you'll be susceptible to other beliefs. And I don't know, I'm still searching, but like I still believe in Jesus.
Okay. Well, I don't know what else there is to ask. Justin might have some questions, but I tell you this much. If you still believe that Jesus is real and Jesus is God, when you come up with a good reason, we're definitely going to want to hear it.
I'm curious to know how you landed on Jesus versus Allah or Brahma or Vishnu.
So I'm going with the most, to me anyways, the most just and kind God.
Oh no! I mean, the God that wants to burn you in flames for all of eternity just because you won't worship him properly?
The God that tells people to kill their enemies and enslave the virgins and keep them for themselves? You think that's a just and kind God? The God that supports slavery?
So if God were real, if the Bible were real, then the devil would also be real. Doesn't that also go into play of the bad things that happen?
No.
I mean, of course, then you could say
God
that
gave those commands, not the devil. In
made
fact, the devil didn't
Satan
give
anyway, so
any
why
evil
didn't he just
command
unmake
ever
him?
in the entire Bible. Name a single time Satan did anything evil. I bet you can't.
You know, well, first of all, I haven't completely read the Bible, but you don't think Satan has influenced at all?
No, I read the book. Satan didn't do anything. The only horrific shit that happens in the Bible is stuff that God commands and has happened.
Where did Satan even come from? If Satan's not
God
even,
created
or
him.
hell's not even, hell is actually spoken in the Bible, but I don't think Satan is directly spoken about in the Bible.
Really, where'd the name come from? Because first of all, Satan is a name that's used to apply to a number of different particular figures in the Bible that may be separate depending on which myths and stuff were constructed and put together. So, for example, you've got Lucifer, you've got Satan, you've got all of these different languages. Do you think that the Garden of Eden literally happened and that there was a serpent there that lied to Eve?
So I believe God is a lot more complex than that.
I don't think that's an answer to my question at all. This was a simple yes or no question.
The story needs to be read with a symbolic
we need a yes or no
view and not like a science manual.
We just needed a yes or no.
Do you think the Garden of Eden story actually happened and that a serpent lied to Eve?
In the literal sense, as a snake actually going up to her and talking, no.
In what sense do you think it's true?
Maybe when those were the first two to become aware, and they actually, like Moses and other people, were able to communicate with God in their minds. I mean, I also believe evolution is true. I mean, well, it's a fact, but.
So how is evolution true, but the Bible also true? Because the lineage in the Gospel of Luke goes all the way back to Adam, and Adam is supposed to be the first human being about 6,000 years ago. So if Adam's the first human being 6,000 years ago, how did we have humans before Adam?
The first, so time, when talked about in the Bible, for one thing, if you're going to use God as the person that's talking about time, I'm pretty sure time is not the same for him. nor was it probably the same for people or how they were scaling it.
No,
Are you
then.
just
time is still time.
are you just saying random things you've heard other people say, whether they have anything to do with what we're talking about or not?
Yeah, he's not processed this at all.
I mean, you're kind of like in apologetics autopilot, where we're asking questions that you don't know an answer to. So instead, you're substituting something you heard somebody else say about the Bible or God, even if it has nothing to do with the subject.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, so it seems that you're in a spot where you believe that God is real and Jesus is real and Jesus saved your life, but you don't seem to have any good reason for it. And you have no idea. Like, for example, even the people who don't think that there was literally a serpent in the Garden of Eden, if they think there was do you think there was an actual Adam and Eve, or was the story just metaphorical?
I don't know.
How would we tell? Like if science says that there could not have been an actual first people as Adam and Eve, would that?
I think we need to try and combine subjects to try and find the answer to God and stop trying to
I think
use
you need
one
to stop
subject.
combining subjects, because that muddies things and you desperately need clarity more than the muddying.
Wait, how does combining subjects to find the truth about something muddy things?
Well, because I'm asking you questions that are designed to reach clarity, and you're refusing to answer them or just talking over them. So, for example, if science says that at no point is it possible for there to have been a literal Adam and Eve, does that show that the Bible is wrong or not? Like, does science show, if science and the Bible disagree, which one wins?
Science.
Cool. So science suggests that not only is there no literal Adam and Eve, but that there was no global flood. And that removes the story of original sin, and it removes the story of God wiping out all of humanity except for one drunk and his kids. What parts of the Bible might still be true?
I believe it's all true, and that I also believe some things may have been taken out.
You literally just acknowledged that when science and the Bible disagree, science is correct and the Bible's wrong. And now you're saying you believe it's all true. How can you possibly believe it's all true when you haven't read it all?
Well, I've learned a lot of it from you, actually.
You didn't learn shit from me. Don't you ever fucking tell anybody you learned this from me.
Well, what I was saying was I learned a lot of good lessons from the Bible from you.
Okay. Let's try this again. How can you say that you believe the entire Bible is true if you haven't read it?
That's fair enough. I shouldn't have said it.
Cool. Maybe that same exaggeration that you're doing for that, you're doing for the rest of your discussions about the Bible as well. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So when you come up with a good reason for believing this, you should definitely call us back and share it. But until you have a good reason, I would think you should go ask Jesus what he wants you to know and understand to share with us.
All right.
Cool. When Jesus gets back to you, let us know. Justin, I don't know if you had anything else.
I may be a piece of homework, Alexander. Do me a favor, write down 2 Bible verses for me. I picked the 2 easiest ones I could find in this vein of topic. It's Genesis 32, 27 to 28. And the other is Genesis 35, verses 9 through 10. I need you to ask this question and come back to us with an answer. How many times did God change Jacob's name to Israel? That's all.
1 second. Okay, so you said, what were Genesis 32:28, you said?
Yep. You shall no longer be called
Okay,
Jacob,
what
but
was the
Israel,
second?
for you have striven with God and with humans and have prevailed.
Right, and then you said
That-
Genesis, some other
Yep,
numbers.
35, 9 through 10. Quite some
35,
time
9
later,
through 10.
God appears to Jacob again and changes his name again.
Okay, I'll look into it. Sorry,
All right.
I
Cheers,
tried to
buddy.
do something tonight. I guess it just didn't work.
Fair enough.
Okie doke. Thanks for calling, Alexander. Have a
All
great
right,
night.
guys.
Have fun. Oh, by the way, as a reminder, if you want to chime in on what people are actually saying or what we're saying or offer corrections or support, not only can you like and subscribe, those are great, easy things you can do that help the work we're doing here. Participating in chat is another great thing that you can do to support the work here as well. Spreading the word about the show so that we get better callers. If somebody in your family, well, let's not necessarily go pick out family members that you're trying to embarrass, but if you know somebody, if there's somebody in your neighborhood, if there's somebody you interact with at work who is constantly trying to prod you towards Jesus or towards Allah or towards Scientology or towards whatever, you can let them know about the show and they can call and potentially defend it. It always surprises me the number of times over the last 20 years that we've been accused of, even though we have open lines and anyone can call in and we invite people to call in, people are like, why do you only get the dumb theists to call in? I kid you not, I get that email. I've gotten that email hundreds of times over the years. Why? You guys are cherry picking, or these are fake calls, or you're just letting no, you can call in. You can call in and test that yourself, unless you think you're one of the dumb ones. And then, probably you wouldn't, because then you'd be helping your own case that way. But you're welcome to call. And by the way, we engage with all kinds of people. And not only do I do these shows, but I've done big public formal debates in churches, at religious conventions, at atheist conventions, in colleges. I was going to debate at Oxford Union, but then COVID shut that down. I have a friend who's debating in Oxford Union soon, so good luck, bud. Getting the word out is great. Now you can subscribe. You can go to linemerch.com and buy merchandise. You can go to patreon.com/call the line and support us there. And you can put your super chats in. All of that is great. But and while we love your money helps keep the show going, because we have to pay. We have to pay for the call service. Our producers get paid. The equipment costs money. There's a lot that goes into this. But the most important thing is participation. The most important thing is getting more people engaged and letting them know what's out there. We got another theist if you're ready.
I'm excited.
Sweet. Steven's a theist from New York who says this is, pronouns are him, says this is not all just random. Some things have been orchestrated. Hey, Steven, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. What's been orchestrated and how can you tell?
So first, I'm wondering, when you guys say the universe exists by way of chaos, are you guys speaking of chaos as in randomness?
I don't know that I've ever uttered that phrase.
No, I've heard it in past discussion. I was just referring to that. But if that's not what you believe, then we can go somewhere else.
I don't know if Justin said it. I don't recall ever saying that. It doesn't sound like anything I would have said. But
so,
you called in. You called in to say that this isn't all just random. I don't believe everything's just random.
Right.
But
right,
you're saying some things have been orchestrated. So the question was, what's been orchestrated, and how can you tell?
The reason I say things have been orchestrated is because, my endpoint would be the simulation, but I feel like we have laws and we have math that tells us exactly where things are and where things will be. And for all this to happen, there has to be guidelines set by something for laws to be obeyed. So
No,
I don't think. Why
that's
do you
not how
believe
the
that?
laws of physics works. The
Well,
laws
like, are we talking about? You're talking about like laws of physics, right?
Yeah, laws of physics, laws of just yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Justin. I know what you're going to say. I'm in agreement already.
100%. No one's following the laws of physics like it's a speed limit on a road. The laws of physics are just describing things that are consistent within our universe, right? So, like, you know, we call them laws because they're constant. They don't change. We can count on them, but nothing is like following them. It's not like a transcendental existence out there. The universe is like double checking with, you know, make sure we don't break these laws.
Yeah, let me throw
But
on
we can't exist outside of these laws, though, right?
Yeah, that's irrelevant. Let me throw on my I've listened to Feynman's lectures 100 times hat. Everything is about electromagnetism, and that's just the way it is. It's not like there needed to be someone or something that defined how electromagnetism works. The electromagnetic spectrum, that is what explains everything else. And so the laws of physics are descriptions of how things work. They are not boundaries placed, as Justin was alluding to,
right? So
to force things to work
the
that
universe.
way.
But
I'm sorry, what?
If we're using these, so we're pretty much saying the laws of physics are how we understand the universe. I feel like that's what you're saying, right?
Well, I don't think that's. I'm saying it's how we understand it. I'm saying, to the best of our understanding, electromagnetism is the thing that explains how and why the universe is. That some things are the way they are because that's the way they are. Why do you think that, for example, why do you think the electromagnetic spectrum required someone or something to define what it is?
Because, I mean, something has to originate from something, you know, nothing is from nothing. I don't know if I'm making sense, but there has to be an origin point.
You are making sense and you're not, in the sense that what I mean is, I asked why you feel that, let's say, electromagnetism needed someone or something to define it, rather than that's just what it is. Like, maybe it couldn't have been any other way, or even if it could have been some other way, this is the way it is. And you said something can't originate from nothing. Now, first of all, I don't know how you reached that conclusion, because my position is I have no reason to think there's ever been or ever could be a nothing.
Right.
Yep, my position too. I would need some sort of an argument for why we would believe there was once nothing.
But I think we're in a similar point, because you're saying your argument is you don't believe there was never nothing, but there's nothing to prove that either. But I'm saying on the other hand that
no, that's the default position. We know something exists. If somebody wants to assert that at some point there was nothing, they have adopted a burden of proof. I'm not claiming there was never nothing. I'm saying nobody has shown me that there is or could be nothing. But do we at least agree there's something?
No, there is something. That's why we're here.
Okay. So if you and I agree that there's something, do you think at some point there was nothing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We're also trying.
We're going to be in monumental agreement here.
I think this is why I love science, because we're trying to explain something that is beyond our comprehension. You know, I think the human body.
See, now you're losing me. This was going so good.
How? Tell me.
Because the fact that we don't have an understanding of something now doesn't mean we always won't have an explanation for it now. Science is the process. Science is the process of trying to find out that. You don't know what the limits of our comprehension are.
But we know it currently. That's what we're speaking of, current limits. We can't talk about things that haven't been discovered.
I'm fine with current limits, but you're calling in to suggest that some things have been orchestrated. I see no reason to believe that something has been orchestrated.
I mean, Like,
And
I mean,
that's
I would
why I
say,
asked,
this
and
is
that's what
this is to have
that's why I asked what your reason was. And your reason so far is that it must have been orchestrated because there are laws, but now we agree those laws might just be the way they are and they might not have an explanation. There's no reason being offered as to why they
right,
needed a definer. And your
right.
follow-up reason was that something can't come from nothing, but you don't know if there was a nothing. So what's the reason for thinking that something was orchestrated?
Because of the way we understand the universe right now, the way matter is created, the way we
Matter isn't
see
created.
atoms and nuclear fusion, and we have to go according to those rules, no? And I feel like rules don't just
Matter isn't created, and you have offered nothing from our understanding to explain why you're saying that things have to be orchestrated.
okay. So the reason why I feel like we're living in a simulation controlled by an entity or a god is because
Oh, there we go. Now we're in the
if
simulation.
let me no, but
Nah, this
if
guy's
there's a
hurting
god,
me.
if there's a god, there has to be a simulation.
Stephen, I'm
Can
going
I
to let
finish?
you finish. If
Okay.
you'd shut up for a second, I was literally saying I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to let you finish, but you called in to say that things have to be orchestrated. We asked you a couple
Yeah.
times to stop talking. Let me finish. I don't need a yes. All it does is interrupt on the delay and make this take longer. I gave you a couple opportunities to explain why you think it's orchestrated. And when you repeatedly failed to do that and offered your misunderstandings of laws, whether they're prescriptive or descriptive, and about whether or not there could be a nothing, when you were stonewalled on those things, you, instead of giving an answer, have now decided to say, here's why I think we're living in a simulation and it must have been orchestrated. You've now added something, not just that it was orchestrated, but that you think the orchestration is a simulation. You're already making a huge mistake by pretending that you like science while not engaging in science and adding, multiplying entities unnecessarily, violating Occam's razor at the first opportunity. I'm going to let you give your case, but I still want to know what's the justification for you saying it's orchestrated.
Right. So whenever we say something is orchestrated, I think that's another way of saying a simulation, because a simulation can be orchestrated. So what I'm saying is that for our world to evolve in the way it has, if conscious humans right now are able to simulate consciousness in a way, then that means we can also be under a simulation by some higher power. Because
Stephen,
right
do you
now,
care
if you
about
were to
logical?
think, for example,
Stephen, I'm going to
I'll let
interrupt
you
you.
finish. Can I finish?
No, because it's my show and I'm not going to let you waste time. I'm asking you a question for
All right.
clarification, something we've explained, I don't know, 100,000 times on these shows. You said that you went with a simulation because a simulation can be orchestrated. My question is, can non-simulations be orchestrated?
What is a non-simulation?
Something that isn't a simulation?
But how do you know that? That's what I'm asking you.
Never mind, Stephen. You are not equipped for this conversation. The question I was going to ask you was, yeah, you laugh all you want. You're the one that's going to look really silly. I was asking you if you cared about logical fallacies, because your argument for why it's a simulation is that you think it's orchestrated and a simulation can be orchestrated. And the question I was asking you, is it possible for something that's not a simulation to also be orchestrated? And your refusal to answer that means that you either know that you're doing a false equivocation fallacy right in the middle of that, or you are too clueless to understand that you are engaged in that fallacy and you just desperately want to give your simulation theory. You offered nothing
Right.
for why it's orchestrated,
Oh.
and you presented a fallacy for why you violate Occam's razor in adding simulation to the orchestration. Why should we even bother to let you continue if you don't care about logical fallacies, if you don't answer questions honestly?
I want to answer your question, but because of your monologue, I lost track of the question. So
Cool.
if I can recall, your question was, can a simulation be orchestrated, or can something that is not a simulation be orchestrated? Was that your question?
Can something that is not a simulation also be orchestrated?
My answer is no.
Cool. So it's impossible So everything else that we would describe as orchestrated, like, oh, I don't know, a symphony or a plan to overthrow the government, those all have to be simulations as well, correct?
Sure.
Okay. We have a fundamental disagreement about what a simulation is, but your definition of simulation is therefore.
I agree with you.
I'm sorry, I'm still fucking talking. Your definition of simulation is functionally, logically equivalent to orchestration. So I don't need you to explain why you think it's a simulation. I need you to explain why you think it's orchestrated. Please try again.
Let me have a second to think.
You've had more than a second to think. You were on hold for almost.
Listening to you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were on hold for more than 20 minutes. You're the one that called in with this. If you haven't worked out why you think it's orchestrated, you should not have called and said that some things have been orchestrated. This is literally your exact point that you gave the call screener. Your claim is this is not all just random, which I don't think it is either. Some things have been orchestrated. All we've done for the past 12 minutes is try to get you to explain what the justification is for why you think it's orchestrated, and now you need a moment to think. Interrupt me one more fucking time. Here we go. I'm going to fucking mute you. The fact that you think you need another minute to think about the thing, the very subject that you called in about, and then you decide to try to interrupt me while I'm pointing out how ridiculous this is, that you are not prepared to offer the most basic answer to the most obvious question for your position is embarrassingly bad. But I might be the problem here. This is something I'm working on. I might be the problem. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to play a game of chess. Let's see if Justin has a better way of getting you to answer the fucking question. What is your justification for thinking that something is orchestrated, that reality is orchestrated? I'll unmute you now.
The reason I say it's orchestrated is because the way we understand simulation is we let the best or the more exciting outcomes to progress. And for me, this is why I think everything that has happened in the world has happened, because that's the most interesting thing to happen. You know, the most interesting thing was for us to discover, I don't know, AI right now. So now that's what's happening. So this is my reasoning.
Who's in charge of the simulation? Who made it?
If we apply
created
the way we
our
understand,
simulation, Stephen?
Who created? That's the higher power that I'm saying we don't know of, but we can call it a god.
Is it a god?
It's a higher power. If you want, you could call it God.
Could it be super evolved beings?
Sorry?
Could it be super evolved beings?
Sure.
Okay. So it could just be a natural entity that is super evolved. Is it possible that the super evolved beings are in a simulation?
Also?
Yep.
It's very much possible.
Yeah. Do you think that those super evolved entities might be in another simulation?
You know, that's the problem. It's also possible.
Do you think it's turtles of simulations all the way up, buddy?
Maybe until you hit that wall. Again, we're trying to explain a power that we don't know. We barely understand our own universe. It
sounds to me like you're struggling and trying to figure out how we got here, and rather than just like learning some basic science, you're just like spitballing what like the latest thing Elon Musk tweeted about.
No, but I answered every question you asked me. Would you like to ask another question?
How much energy is in the universe? Do you think it's infinite, or do you think it's finite?
Do I think it's infinite? I would say finite, because stars do burn out, but the universe is expanding as we speak. So
if the universe has a finite amount of energy, what that means is that you can't have an infinite series or some kind of an infinite regress of simulations.
Sorry, could you repeat that last part?
Yeah. if there's a finite amount of energy in the actual universe, that means you can't have an infinite amount of simulations. You can't do simulation inception into infinity. There must be an endpoint.
This is the brick wall that I said earlier, that perhaps maybe that's what we hit after you zoom out of the countless simulations that we might be in.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. So we got to an endpoint. Now that we've determined we've got to an endpoint, what is the simulation doing for you? What does it actually explain? Because until you can tell me what that endpoint is, there's no reason to believe that between now and that endpoint, there's a near infinite cycle of simulations.
You know, can I also just reflect the question towards you?
What do you think the source is what I'm asking.
Right. So I want to answer your question with an example or a question. Sorry.
No. I just need to know the thing. It's probably just a couple words. What do you think the endpoint is? Is it natural? Is it natural or is it supernatural? Is it natural or is it supernatural? If you go all the way back to whatever your endpoint is it a natural or a supernatural cause?
I would say perhaps natural.
There you go. If it's a natural cause, then you've done all this for nothing. You've created all this nonsense, all this madness, when at the beginning of whatever you think is causing all this, it's just a naturalistic cause. Well, guess what? We also believe the universe is here through naturalistic causes, and we don't need a simulation to explain any of it. Because you've already explained that the order of the universe has come about through natural means. We also agree that the order of the universe has come about by natural means. The difference between your position and our position is we're not inserting a billion different simulations.
What I meant by natural was not chaos or just physics or science. No, what I meant
I'm not asking you about that. I didn't ask you about that. If it's a natural cause, right? If every simulation has an endpoint somewhere and the endpoint is a naturalistic cause, then that thing is not a god. That thing is just a force of nature.
Because I did not understand your question.
There you go. Okay, now you're inserting a god, right? No, what's the evidence that a god is the endpoint? And if a god is the endpoint, how do we know that that god's not in a simulation itself?
You know, this is why we keep discovering things with science. We don't know yet, but hopefully the further we go...
If you don't know, then how in the world are you putting God into the equation?
Again, the same way you're putting the fact that this is all natural. I think it's the same thing.
No. What I'm saying is the same thing Matt's saying, which is the same thing all of us are saying, is you don't get to plug God into the equation until there's evidence of God. But we have evidence of nature. We know nature exists. We look around us, all we see is nature.
You know nature exists, but you don't know why.
Because it can't exist. It can't not exist. It's a necessary existence. It's always existed. Matt's got his hand raised. What's up, buddy?
But no, nature does exist, but life and nature doesn't always exist. Like, look at other planets. They don't have what we have. So we don't know why. I didn't say it always exists
everywhere.
Other planets without life are still nature. Everything is nature. Everything is natural. A minute ago, you said that the most interesting thing is what we go with. Do you think science's view is that we're going to go with the most interesting answer?
The most interesting results. Yes, that's what we go with. That's when we test.
No, it's not what we go with. You have a fundamental. No, it's not what we go with. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of science. What's interesting to you isn't necessarily interesting to me, and interesting isn't the right answer. I care about what's right. I don't care about what you find interesting. I don't care what somebody else finds interesting. Even if I also find it interesting, I'm not going to act like it's the right answer. I'm not going to act like it's probably true. I'm not even going to act like it's possibly true. You have to demonstrate that it is possible that something is the right answer, that it is then probable that something is the right answer before we go with it. But interesting is never the criteria. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of science and epistemology. I'm sorry, I don't know why you're talking over me right now. I sat here and patiently listened to your bullshit, and then I asked you a question about it. And when I'm explaining how wrong you are, you decided to talk over me. So I'll go back to being quiet now.
I was agreeing with your point, and I
don't need you to talk
on top of that. We're having a conversation, my friend.
No, we're not, and you're not my friend.
That's a rough definition of
You're right.
conversation. So
I know I'm right.
Um,
Thank you. That's going to be.
I think we need to bring this all the way back around, right? So
Okay.
you're inserting a god at some point
Mhm.
in this, near infinite chain of simulation, right? Why are you
Right.
inserting a god? What evidence is there? What argumentation is there to point towards a god? You're going to say order, right? Something of that nature.
Sure.
Okay, what do you think order is?
Order is the way the universe behaves, the way the universe
No.
follows
What
a
does
set
the
of
word
laws.
order mean?
Things that are happening based on a set of laws.
No. Order is like an
What does order
arrangement of things, right? An arrangement or a sequence or a pattern of things. Now, can we have patterns that are both natural
code.
and non-natural?
Can we have patterns that are both natural and unnatural?
Yes. Like, can I organize something? Can I take a bucket of Legos and create order with them?
Mhm.
Yes or no?
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
I just
Legos
need
and
you to
the universe
just pay
are two different
attention,
things.
Steve. Just pay attention.
Okay.
Am I capable of taking something like Legos and putting them in an order?
Yes.
Okay. Is nature capable of taking things and placing them in a particular order? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, well, you'd be wrong then, my friend. In fact, I'm growing
Why?
a couple sets of crystals right now. This is my latest experiment using various chemicals. I didn't order this shit. Mother Nature did. Mother Nature made crystals. Mother Nature makes snowflakes.
Right.
That's order. You think a snowflake has order?
Right, and it follows a set of rules.
Do you
That's what I
think
said
a
order was.
snowflake has order, Steven?
Yes, I've said yes.
Okay, then
It
that
follows
means
a
the
set of
answer to
rules.
my prior question, you must change. My prior question was, do you think things find order within nature? You said no. Now the answer is yes. Okay. So if we can find natural
Because
order,
there's already order in
then
nature. Nature doesn't
if we
create
can
order.
find order within nature, then why am I attributing divine agency to order?
Because nature does not create order. There's already order in nature.
You just told me it did.
Nature is the
You
base.
just told me that
No,
nature.
you said that.
No, you admitted to it. You said crystals, snowflakes, they form natural in what we call an ordered or a patterned way. The reason why snowflakes form is because the H2O molecules can only bond to each other in certain types of pairings. That's why they always look the
100%
same.
that's a set of codes.
Okay. So
But
that's not a
those
set of code.
existed already
That's a
prior.
naturalistic phenomenon, has nothing to do with a code. It's only because
Yes,
the
but
structure
that's
of
the fabric of the
H2O
universe.
allows it. It's not fabric. The physical characteristics of H2O allows it to only bond in particular ways. It has nothing to do with a coding or a programming. It's physical arrangement. It's the same reason why I can't physically put this inside of this without opening up. It's just physics. Things are being arranged in the natural world because of physical limitations. That's it.
One of the problems here, real quick, is that he has a definition of order that is so incorrect that what he's saying is correct, because the definition of order that he gave was things that happen based on a set of laws. There's nothing in reality that doesn't happen that isn't consistent with a set of laws. And so under his definition of order, which is incorrect, he is correct, because everything happens according to a set of laws. And therefore everything is order. I'm sorry. I understand that I'm right in saying how wrong you are, but everything isn't order. Yes, natural law dictates everything, but here's the thing: are order and chaos different?
Yes.
Does chaos exist in reality?
I would say no.
Not even localized chaos, small range chaos that is ordered in a broad sense? So you're saying entropy doesn't exist?
If we think of chaos as chaos has to follow. Chaos only happens after a set of rules already happened. Chaos don't just...
So I understand. This is the problem. Stephen has invented his own definitions for order and chaos. He loves science so much that he ignores the science around it in order to construct the way that I'm still talking, sir. In order to construct his understanding, which is why he goes with what's interesting and thinks we just are stuck with our understanding rather than the entire purpose of science, which is to expand our understanding towards that which is more correct rather than that which Stephen finds more interesting. I would recommend that you call into Skeptalk, especially when like Dr. Aaron Adair is on there, or maybe call into Dr. Blitz or any of those other physicists who can explain your very basic misunderstandings about physics. Because you've taken your misunderstandings about physics, expanded them to something else, and are then trying to say, hey, it sure is interesting, and therefore I'm going to go with the simulation theory. When I still haven't heard a single thing about why you think reality is orchestrated. Because from your view, if reality has laws and everything, including what we might describe as chaos within that reality, operates according to those laws, then there is no evidence for orchestration. There is only evidence of laws.
Okay. Can we agree that chaos is a description of behavior, not explanation of origin?
Sure.
Right. Because true chaos would have no laws, right?
I don't know.
No. I don't agree with that either.
Words have escaped you. I think you need to take Matt's advice and use a dictionary.
It's so silly for you to ask me. It's so silly. It's so silly. It's so silly for you to ask me why I'm not convinced of something you just asserted without any justification or even argument. We still haven't got to why the fuck you can think that things are orchestrated, because every attempt that you've made has nothing to do with the demonstration. How can you tell? Here's two things. One is orchestrated, one is not. How do you tell the difference?
How do you tell the difference between orchestration and not? You can't. That's the problem.
Then stop talking. You don't know. Stop talking. Then stop talking. Your position is that it's orchestrated because it can't not be orchestrated. You are not presenting an argument. You are not presenting science. You are presenting an assertion, a flat assertion that you admit you cannot justify. I have zero interest in your flat, unjustified assertions.
But with all due respect, you haven't proven any points either.
With all due respect, I'm not the one who... Stop fucking talking. I'm going to mute you. With all due respect, which you can shove your respect, I didn't call you. I didn't call you to tell you you're wrong about this. You called us to make a case for this, and you failed to do so. Not only that, but your case is nothing but a bald, unsupported assertion. And when this is pointed out repeatedly, your response is, well, you didn't prove anything either. Bitch, I ain't here to prove nothing. I didn't call you. I didn't pretend to have the answer to life, the universe, and everything. How dare you, after being exposed as just talking out of your ass for 29 minutes, how dare you try to put the onus, well, you guys didn't prove anything either. Correct. You know what we did prove? We proved you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. And we proved it in a way that it's going to live forever on the internet. We proved that you're dishonest in conversation because instead of acknowledging, yes, in fact, my view is just a bold assertion that I haven't bothered to defend, you decided to do a, well, you didn't prove anything either. Not my job. Would you like to have anything else to say here before we let you go?
Hello?
Yeah.
What I was saying is that yes, I brought in a point, but you were fighting my point with something that you didn't have an explanation. So it's hard for me to.
I'm going to mute you again because it's fun. I don't need an explanation. If there's a dead body and you say the butler did it, and I show you that the butler couldn't have done it, I don't need to know who did it to know that you're fucking wrong. I'm sorry the basics of logic escape you, but that's what it is. Try again. Closing thoughts.
But then the murder is not solved, so you still have to figure out who.
Correct. I'm not the one claiming I solved the murder, you dolt. Did I call you and say, I know the answer to life? No, you called to say X is orchestrated. I didn't call you to say it's not. I haven't even claimed it's not. I don't know if it's orchestrated or not. I'm not claiming to know the answer. You know what I am claiming? I'm claiming to have an understanding of logic and reason and evidence and sound epistemology. I'm claiming to have the humility to be able to say, I don't know. You're not, Stephen. You are so impressed with your own knowledge and understanding that you think it's a flaw for someone to say, I don't know what the explanation of the universe is. And instead, you're going to go with whatever's most interesting. I'm going to wait until there's an actual reliable, reasonable, evidence-based, likely true explanation. So is there anything else you'd like to accuse me of failing to do when I have failed to do nothing and I have exposed your irrational, unscientific views repeatedly while playing chess and drinking Kool-Aid? Go ahead.
Right. So if you yourself understand how simulation works, why do you not feel like this is a simulation?
Can you see the TV?
Have I seen this TV?
Can you see my face? Are you watching the show?
No, I'm not watching the show currently.
Well, I'm holding up the answer to your question.
Oh,
it's a coffee cup. It's a coffee cup that says, I'm not answering questions. I'm not here to tell you anything about my view on simulation theory. I find this mind-numbingly boring, just like every other unfounded, irrational, illogical, unfounded assertion.
Then I don't know where else we can go if I can't ask questions.
We can't go anywhere. That's the point. I don't know why you're not seeing this, Stephen. See, we do this show where people call in to
anyone do anything if they can ask you a question?
How can anyone do anything if they can't answer me? You could have asked questions. I may or may not answer questions. The purpose of this show is for people to call in, present their position, and justify it. Or if they happen to know our position or ask about our position, they can show us where we're wrong. You have failed to even weakly attempt to do either. I don't know what show you thought you called, but this is not the I'm going to call in and make an unfounded assertion. And when I show how absolutely asininely unreasonable I am, I then get to say, well, the host didn't let me ask them questions. Here we go, Stephen. What question would you like to ask me?
Right. So if you have a fundamental understanding of how simulation works,
I don't. I didn't say I did. Did I say I had a fundamental understanding of how simulations work?
That's me asking you.
No, it's not. No, it's not. If you were asking, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't I'm sorry. Here, I'm going to mute you again. That way I don't have to yell over you. I'm sorry that you don't understand the basics of conversation or anything else. If you want to ask me if I have a basic understanding of what a simulation is, you should say, do you have a basic understanding of a simulation? If instead you ask the question, if you have a basic understanding of simulation, blah, 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 you didn't ask that question. I'm sorry that your imprecision of thought and communication is so poor. Let's try again. Would you like to ask me a question? Yes or no?
Do you have an understanding of simulation?
I'm sorry. I asked you, would you like to ask me a question? Yes or no? We have to go back to kindergarten here. This is how. No, I asked you.
What are you doing?
I asked. I'm treating you like the preschooler you're acting like. Do you want to ask me a question?
Like a preschooler. Just answer the question if you're going to answer the question.
No, sir, I'm not. Do you want to ask me a question? Yes or I'm sorry. Do you want to
Yes.
ask me a question?
Yes,
Yes
I
or
do.
no? I'm sorry. Why are you interrupting and talking over me? Stop it. Let me ask the question and then answer it. You don't get to speak anymore until spoken to and paused. Do you want to ask me a question? Yes or no?
Yes.
What is the question you would like to ask me?
Do you have an understanding of how simulation works?
I have a basic understanding of what a simulation is. And my understanding of simulation is that it is not merely an orchestration as synonymous and equal.
So if you understand it in that manner, then what differentiates the reality that you're living from that?
I have no idea whether or not I'm living in a simulation or not.
Okay, well, we could just end it in.
We could have ended it that way 37 minutes ago, you dipshit. When I said that.
Well, you don't know how to answer questions. That's not my fault.
Oh, I
Maybe
do.
You
you
know
have
how
a
to
technical-
listen.
You don't know how to listen. We answered that question pretty much at the beginning. I didn't use those exact words. No. Pretty much at the beginning.
Go ahead and mute me. Go ahead and
pretty
push your button.
Oh, I'm going to push my button, you little bitch. You little whiny liar. As I explained in the last dissertation, we're not the one offering explanations. We're the ones saying, I don't know on this front. You're the one claiming to know. And when you got owned for not even knowing what you don't know or being remotely familiar with how to argue or talk or listen or respond to questions or ask questions, then you decided to come at us because we didn't offer you an alternative explanation. This is your monumental arrogance, which, by the way, I'm now completely repeating myself because you didn't fucking listen the first time I did this. I don't have an explanation for the origin of the universe. I'm not pretending to have an explanation for the origin of the universe. I don't know whether or not we're in a simulation, but from what I have studied about the proposed simulation theories, the models don't make sense because the calculation power that would be required is greater than would be possible. But I don't know. And so I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. My answer is, if you say, do you think we're living in a simulation? No, I do not. That, by the way, I can hear you. I can't hear you, but I know you were getting ready to interrupt right there. When I say I do not believe I'm living in a simulation, that is not logically identical to I believe I am not living in a simulation. Where the not appears in a statement, where the negation occurs, is very important. If I say, I do not believe that a God exists, that is different from saying, I believe that a God does not exist. Those are different. I do not believe it's raining is different from I believe it's not raining. Where you put the not is important because one of them is about saying, I am unconvinced of this proposition. And the other one is, I am convinced this proposition is false. We're going to continue this Logic 101 basics because somehow or another you skipped it. And you definitely shouldn't be calling into shows if you don't understand the basics of how to structure a syllogism with premises and conclusions, and how to structure a premise so that you put the not in the right spot. See, there's 256 syllogistic forms that were evaluated by Aristotle and his band of merry logicians. Some of them are structurally valid, which means if the premises are true, the conclusion is necessarily true. That is, the conclusion following from the premises. Others are structurally invalid. And one of the key things is that there's a major premise and a minor premise in connecting terms. And there are multiple versions of each of these syllogistic structures because there are negations. X is so and X is not so. Where the not goes is important to evaluating this. Now that I've explained all that, I have one question for you that will prove my point. What is the difference between validity and soundness in a logical argument? Go ahead.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
What is the difference between validity and soundness in logical arguments?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
I know. Thanks for calling, Stephen. Have a good night.
Painful. He can't be real. At least I
Laugh
hope
it
he's
up,
not real.
fuzzball.
I mean, Occam's razor, I think, could have solved his problems a long time ago. Unnecessarily multiplying billions of simulations to explain our current existence seems like a whole lot of unnecessary things.
It's so weird because, it's like, well, you guys don't have a better answer. Is kind of it, or you guys didn't offer an answer at all. Yes.
Well, we actually don't have to, but I mean, we can explain, and science does explain the existence of our universe quite well without a god or without a simulation. The only question I think that is a struggle, and the thing that, sometimes I'm sitting there thinking about it and like hitting my head against the wall is, why is there something rather than nothing? That's the one that drives me insane. But as for everything after that question, God is not necessary to explain it.
It's really strange because Stephen's doing the thing that so many other people do, which is, I'm really frustrated that I don't have an answer. And so I'm going to go with the answer that's interesting, or, I can't think of anything better than this, which is an absolute lack of humility. And the opposite of what science is, the opposite of saying, hey, we don't know, let's go see if we can find out. Science doesn't say, hey, we don't know, let's just go with the limits of our knowledge with the thing that's most interesting until somebody comes up with better. And it's like, it is a little sad that, we're on this call for 30 minutes. We're repeatedly asking the most basic questions. And then once you get into a corner and start going, wow, yeah, I guess I don't have, like, at least the theistic caller that acknowledged he basically didn't have a good reason. I mean, that was honest.
Mm-hmm.
This person still thinks, even after acknowledging that they don't have good reason, after committing multiple fallacies, after acknowledging they don't understand what a fallacy even is, still thinks they have a good reason, and their good reason is, you didn't give me a better one. That's like, legitimately, that's what they're doing. And then there was somebody in chat who was like, Matt's impatience with the caller is just too bad. I'm glad I found Justin's channel. Cool. Yeah. I'm glad you found Justin's channel too. I'm glad I found Justin's channel. I'm glad Justin's here. And you're right. I don't have near the patience some other people do, because I've done this for 20 years and I don't fucking get along well with liars and dishonest arguers. I find they're wasting my time in a rude way. I find they're wasting your time in a rude way. And there are other people on hold often whose time they are wasting as well. How much time should we go around and around in circles before my patience lost? If I'm not your cup of tea, great. You can even say so. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
It's one thing to have a terrible argument and to be difficult to engage in. It's another thing just to avoid questions altogether and be evasive, because then the conversation never goes anywhere. You feel like you spent 30 minutes and got nowhere because you couldn't actually engage in a path that gets you to a destination. It's just an actual path of chaos.
Yep. So here we go. Well, by the way, people's different preferences and different ways of doing this is one of the reasons why I don't do these shows alone most of the time. I tell you, I can no longer pick a favorite. For a while, there were people who were definitely my favorites, and one of my favorites I'm no longer even friends with. But I love the people here at the line. I am incredibly honored and overwhelmed that I get to work with and learn from and experience both a bunch of different styles, from Justin, Promise, Alyssa, Lux, Erica, and Forrest, and fuck you, Jimmy, and and Jovan, and I'm going to forget somebody, but I'm overwhelmed. And that's why we have a bunch of different shows, a bunch of different people involved, because there's no one right way to reach everybody. There's somebody who's not going to budge from their irrationality until daddy gives them a spanking. And there's somebody else who's only going to do it if they are gently guided. Mm-hmm. And some of us have done, over 20 years, I've done it every possible way. But the nice thing is, I'm just going to be me. And I am genuinely trying to be better versions of me. So if you like watching Justin more than me, awesome. So do I most of the time. You should go do that.
I actually love Good Cop, Bad Cop, because on my channel, I have to be the bad cop. I get friends that come in and be my good cop. Here, I get to be the good cop. So
yeah,
I get to chew people out sometimes too. In fact, there's been quite a few theists that call in so often that I know they can't sleep at night until I send them to bed with a bruised butt. That's just how some of them are.
I know there are people, see, not only that, but one thing a lot of people don't realize is a good chunk of these people calling are not honest. They're here to troll. And then there's the philosophy bros who, well, they're not honest either, but
no,
they're at least honest, dishonest in a different way. And then I kid you not, because I get the private emails and stuff like that, there are people who seem to genuinely have a fetish for Daddy Matt giving them a stern talking to, and they just keep calling back and calling back and calling back. And it's like, this is why I love Justin, and Justin would be like, hey friend, hey friend, hey friend. I don't do that. Because for me, like, Justin's my friend. Arden is my best friend and my partner. I have a number of people who are friends. To me, friends, personally, I'm not judging anybody else's use of it, means a little bit more. So when in the midst of some bullshit back and forth, and somebody's like, hey friend, I'm not your friend. And part of that is because of 20 years of some parasocial, I desperately want to be your friend shit. I ain't got no more time for that. Anyway, enough of that bullshit. We got super chats to get to. There they are. I'm getting everything queued up. $10 from Greg Murkowski. Hi, Greg. You are first. And it's so good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for the show. What's the difference between argument from incredulity and God of the gaps? They seem very similar. So argument from ignorance is essentially, I'm going to believe this until somebody proves me wrong. Argument from incredulity is, I'm going to believe this because I can't think of a better explanation. And God of the gaps is, I would say, certainly related to those. God of the gaps would be a theistic specific version of argument from incredulity. So where in a fallacy sense, if you go to a fallacy site, they should not list God of the gaps as a fallacy category the way we do for arguments from incredulity or argument. And actually, argument from incredulity or personal incredulity isn't even probably going to be listed on some of them. So it's kind of just a more specific thing. Kind of the way that I think on a fallacy site, I don't think you would see bandwagon or propaganda listed, even though they're fallacies. They're specific types of a fallacy, appeal to popularity, those types of things. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure how much it matters. And my ex-wife taught me a very valuable lesson, which is it's probably better to describe the fallacy than to label it, because for people who don't know fallacies, if they hear argument from ignorance, they think you're just saying they're stupid.
And 10 from our friend Texas Panhandler. Good to see you tonight, friend. Says the Bible is good. It's kindling. I agree. And also, don't forget, you can't take it to the park and shove it in those barbecue, the standing barbecues at the pavilions. Work great there. You can put it right underneath your coals. You'll be just good to go the rest of the barbecue.
By the way, I haven't heard people talk about this in ages, and I haven't really done it in ages. But I remember when I first got started with nonprofits and atheist experience and stuff, Russell Glasser and the rest of the guys were talking about, Jeff D in particular, I think, we're talking about their hide the Bible game. And so when they stay in any hotel, the first one, or one of the things they do, maybe not the first thing, is they go find the Bible that's the Gideons put there. By the way, those are there for you to take and they'll replace them. So it's not stealing, but don't steal it. Just hide it. Find a cool place in the actual hotel room to hide it. I know some people who put stickers on the inside saying, warning, this is a work of fiction and, corrupt. Those things are all funny too. But what's most fun about doing this is that on more than one occasion, when myself or a friend of mine have gone to hide the Bible, we will find a Bible that somebody else hid. If you pick a good enough spot, you will probably find a spot that somebody else hid a Bible. It's a really fun game. $10 from Dylan. Thank you very much, Dylan. Justin is free. Rock hard for Doug. You guys are my favorite duo. Thank you. I'm glad to be anybody's part of any favorite anything.
And 10 from the new nostalgia says, first super chat ever, and it's for Justin. Sorry, Matt. You handled that vile caller the other night while you were on with Paul remarkably well. You're an inspiration. Sending my best to you and yours. Thank you, nostalgia. I really appreciate that. And you know what? You'll definitely know them by their fruits. That's all I have to say about that. The minute you start attacking children, you just know they're Christian. You have to.
Yeah. It's so, yes. Thank you so much. And, it doesn't matter if you did it for Justin. I get the money anyway. I'm kidding. Justin's going to get some monies. Cortez, this is, yeah, $10 from Dr. Joe, executive sober coach. Hi, Dr. Joe. Cortez, this isn't a trauma marginalized competition. Spend a week in my office and witness the life and death consequences trans people face in underinformed hostile culture. Yeah. That is a much more succinct way of putting what Justin and I were both trying to get at, which is it's really strange to watch them pit marginalized and oppressed people against each other. Because all that just lets the privileged abusers continue to win.
Yep.
It's absolutely wild. But thank you so much.
Good to see you, Dr. Joe. Hey, 10 from the atheist mechanic. Good to see you, friend. Says, respect my trans friends or I'll identify as a freaking problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like I was saying, you're free to think whatever you want about anybody. You can think trans folks are deranged. You can think it's mental illness. You are demonstrably wrong when you think that. But you can think that. You know what else? You can say that. And you don't have to listen to the replies, but everybody else has the freedom of saying, that's some bullshit. That's hateful bullshit. That is bullshit that further continues to marginalize people based on misunderstandings and ignorance and fear and hatred. And in that sense, it's what all bigotry is. And so when you're talking about bigotry, when you're talking about prejudice, you should go listen to the Tim Minchin song about prejudice because it's funny. It's prejudging. It means you've reached a conclusion about an individual based on something that you think you understand about them based on someone or something else. Or you have a prejudice against an entire category of people based on information. And you know what? It's entirely possible that you could prejudge something and be correct, but you don't have the justification for it yet. Like, I used to play this game with myself when people would call in. Based on what they said in the first couple sentences, I would prejudge or guess, am I talking to this type of person, this type of Christian, this type of theist, this type? Are they going to get to hear? Justin does the same thing. I watched him do it tonight. You're going to make this case, aren't you? And the cool thing about that is you can tell when you're right, even when they deny it.
Every time.
Just, you're going to say it's about from order, aren't you? No. I was going to say, and then there's a pause. Because as soon as they recognize that you actually understand this and you understand it well enough that not only can you present their case, but you could probably do it better than they can, and you can steel man it, all of a sudden that's disconcerting to the people who haven't spent as much time in it. And that doesn't mean we're right. It doesn't mean we're smarter. It means we've spent more time in this. In 20 years, I've heard it all. It is very, very rare that I'm going to hear something new. I like when I hear something new until I figure out, and this is almost always the case, except for when it's just lunacy. It's not actually new. It's a new spin with some subtle, irrelevant thing that once you scrub that part away, it's like, pull the mask off. Why, it's Mr. Simmons from the school.
Every time they're just rehashed old arguments, the same arguments and apologies we're getting from Origen and the other early church fathers. They were never good arguments. They're just recycling them, trying to make them sound new.
Oh.
1999 from DK Lynn says, we often see people retreat to typology or double fulfillment once they realize Jesus didn't fulfill the prophecies in their original context. But you could wager $100 that he doesn't fit the definition of typology either. Well, it kind of depends. So, like, I've done this before where people have said, well, it's a typological fulfillment, say, of like Genesis chapter 22 with the narrative of Abraham and Isaac. And then I actually go through the narrative and show where the typology falls apart, because it doesn't actually give you an exact match. It's just vaguely familiar, right? It's just familiar enough that you can draw a couple parallels, right? But you can do that with any story. In fact, I've got a list of typological fulfillments that are about me in the Hebrew Bible, where I've taken stories and said, listen, this is actually about me because look at these parallels in my life, right? Typologies are just nonsense, pattern-seeking type of desires. There's no such thing as a typological prophecy. It's a cope. It's copeology, my man.
Sorry. I shouldn't have done what I just did, but I did it. So that's the way it's going to go. There are things that I've tried to teach myself not to respond to, but every now and then somebody's just so silly. $20 from Flibberty Giblets. F that POSFF from Sunday night. Justin, this community adores you, and by extension, your son. Rock hard for Doug. Gay for Jesus.
Gay for Justin.
Gay for Justin. Oh, wow. Because gay for Jesus would be. And is it.
It's jizzing for Jimmy.
Oh, my God.
It's a real thing now. Yep. We started this. Yep.
Oh, and now they're imturbating for Matt.
Yeah.
Sweet.
M for M.
Congratulations on your. All right. M for M is probably not the way you want to put that, but who knows?
This is wild. And $10 from Space Barbarian. Good to see you. Not all atheists, Ben. Yeah. I hate it when atheists get up and embarrass me. It hurts me to my core.
It's really, really wild. I spend, granted, I've been doing this a long time, but I spend way more time arguing with and trying to correct bad arguments from atheists than I do from theists.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, and it would be very, it's kind of like, take the plank from your own eye type thing. And I have difficulty. I don't want to be a hypocrite. And so when theists come at me, I want to be able to say, why aren't you going after theists? Why haven't you cleaned up your own yard? Why haven't you done it? And so, I feel like it's incumbent on me to potentially do that. $10 from Dr. Fudge. Get his ass, Matt. I'll get all of them. but thank you. We skipped a page, so I got this.
I think we missed the one prior from Sarah. I think Sarah said, in honor of Ben, fuck ICE. I don't claim him as a Californian. I just scrolled back on the live feed to grab that one. We agree with you.
Yes.
We're with you, Sarah.
I got it. Now we got $10 from Boogit9979. I'll let Ben, you know me, with an SUV from a standstill same distance in video if he lets me, him in the dome after. Oh, wow. Let's just say thanks for contributing and move on. There are certain limits to what I will or won't say.
You have to be careful with these supers. Good to hear from you, Booget. And 10 from the real Jer Bear. Today is World Cancer Day. And as of this year, I will be a childhood cancer survivor for 37 years. That is humongous. And you deserve a huge congratulations.
Thank you and congratulations. That's wonderful. $10 from Bad Social Skills. Matt and Justin equal double trouble. It's true.
Yes, they're in some trouble when they call in on this one. And 10 from Catmere 591 Mere 7. Matt, you still running and hiding from people who can actually debate like Andrew Wilson. You should capitalize the Y in this sentence. You still the type to throw out insults, and when one throws your way, you cry and run. That's a run-on sentence. We have to talk about your grammar now.
Thanks for the money, and thanks for your attention to this matter.
This submissive little kitten spent so much time gobbling down Andrew's cock that he forgot how to construct sentences properly.
It's hilarious that you're here simping for someone who lied and tried to change and conceded the debate and who shit on trans people. And you want to act like he could really debate. He can't even open a jar, let alone debate. That's why, actually, it's probably just is Andrew, because Andrew and or his bots come over and comment on everything I'll do. It's like, I wouldn't even know he still existed if him and his bots didn't come over to be like, are you still running from Andrew Wilson? No, as a matter of fact, I told him if he wanted to do a debate on that subject, he should have booked a debate on that subject.
Yeah.
He didn't.
True.
$10 from Herbie Shine. It's great to see Justin here, but I missed him on his lives this week. Come back to us, Justin. You went out for milk, but never came back. Looking forward to Duncan being on next week.
Good to hear from you, Herbie. I will be live soon, I promise. I'm back home, as you can see. So the grill's already fired up, and we're going to be cooking.
I told Arden the other day, I was like, I would do a show with Justin every day, but Justin's already doing a show every day. And then I find out, evidently, you've been MIA for at least a minute.
I was out of town this last week. So take some things to take care of. $10 from Joshua Everett says, no. The top level simulation is run inside the most recent or bottom one, making a perfect simulation circle. It's a perfect argument because you can't even falsify it. Listen, that is the goal of all of the apologetic God claims, is to find something that's unfalsifiable and then claim victory. Also, beautiful kitten in the PFP, man.
Yeah, if you can. So the key thing is to engage in obfuscation to hide the flaws in the argument. And I think the difference between some of our callers and the cafeteria Christians and the professional apologists is I think most of the professional apologists and Philbros know that's what they're doing. And the others do it instinctively as a rationalization to protect their argument.
Mm-hmm.
But as I can't get into anybody's mind, I can't prove it, and I can't necessarily tell them apart. So you treat them all the same. It's like there are some people that are never going to change their mind, but I'm not going to know who they are, maybe ever. So I'm just going to engage all of them like they can. And then when they demonstrate that it's not going to happen now or with me right now, then move on. Let somebody else have a shot. $10 from Aliashana Silverbow. I'm going to bet on a pun. All last night, it sounded like my neighbors were practicing for their part in an orchestra. I had to call the police to report domestic violence. This orchestra joke was orchestrated, thus simulated.
Fucking tastic.
Okay. That is sweet. Thank you very much.
And $5 from East to Win says blocked call refused and comments deleted because Matt can only be a baby and insult but can't handle anyone giving it back. No one knows who you are, so this is a useless comment. So obviously you're just someone that came to cry in the comments. I didn't see an East to win in the call queue.
Yeah. Did I block? I don't think I blocked a call today. And
I didn't see anyone get blocked.
I didn't delete any comments at all.
I'm also annoyed because this wasn't supposed to get it. I put one $5 in. That was like a really nice message, but this show is supposed to be $10 and up, and this is a $5 in Australian dollars, no less. You know, those are alleged to begin with. So,
well, thank you for your attention to this matter, and thank you for the money, and thank you for watching me, because I don't know who you are, so I probably never watched you. I must be doing something right for you guys to pay to insult me. By the way, if you want to do more super chats and point out more of my flaws, there's still time. We've got a handful. We got like 15 or 20 more to read. For you and you only, East to win, every $5 Australian that you donate, which would normally not be read at all, I'll read it. And I will sit here continuing to read those every time you do it, all night if I need to, because I need you to feel special. It's important to me. Really. Don't run away now. If you run away, would that be like you blocking my call, deleting my comment, and then being a baby and insulting me?
It seems to be the case.
I guess so.
Is this you or me? I lost track now.
I lost track too.
I'll grab it. $10 from Jessica Gallagher. The only good thing about Cortez's call was that now I have a sweet Backstreet Boys throwback song stuck in my head. Thanks to you both for what you do to make this world a better place. Well, thank you, Jessica. And I did clip that already. It's going to be on my soundboard on Friday. So we got that already going. Sorry, Matt. It had to happen. It was fate. And now we're in a boy band together.
I did it so well, you were going to get demonetized.
That's true.
Thank you. Thank you. $10 from Jamnik. Hey, man, how you doing? So far, I've got feels vibes-based argument. Caller wasn't listening to host. Caller whines about being muted. And Matt swears. Just need host mention to get. If you'd have donated 20, I might have read it. Bingo! There you go.
Here's our alternative 5 from T-Town BTS. Y'all reached me. I've been an atheist for a few months now after 48 years in the Assembly of God. And I'll tell you, the AOG does they tend to hold on pretty tight. They're pretty culty. We're certainly proud of you for being able to get yourself out of this and thinking through it. And I mean, you deserve a huge congratulations for your work. It's not easy.
Yes, I completely agree. I was never AOG, but I did attend some Pentecostal churches that I talked about. And I was informed by my friend Jerry DeWitt when I used to say Pentecostal. He's like, no, it's Pentecostal. And that's how you have to pronounce it. But they had the better concerts. Like I loved Petra, and I could go see Petra like they performed at like Six Flags, I think. But I also liked Carmen, and Carmen would always perform at the Pentecostal churches. And I mean, Carmen was a big deal.
Carmen was funny back in the day.
But so
his 90s arc was rough.
Well, I was out by then, out of that stuff anyway. But
you got to see the good part.
Wasn't out of belief, but I was out of Christian rock. But congratulations so much, Tom. It's $10 from Epic Stories from History 23. I'm not your buddy guy. I'm not your gay pal. I'm not your pal friend. I'm not your friend, buddy. Fair. I hope I actually did that too.
Classic line. Hey, 10 from our friend Rock Hard for Doug. Good to see you tonight. Says Batman and Robin have nothing on Matt and Justin. Y'all are the actual superheroes. Well, thank you, friend. I hope you're doing well.
I prefer like Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't want to fight over who's Robin.
Yeah, listen, you don't want to see me in tights. It's not good. It's like that. Yeah, you don't want that.
It definitely would not look like a superhero in tights from the back.
$10
from Deus Ex Marine. Nice. As awful as that simulation call was, I'm very grateful, and it ended up giving us such a beautiful moment of gratitude and appreciation at the end. You're both amazing. Thank you. And thank you. Said before, this is my therapy. Y'all are great.
99 from our friend Kelly Scherer says, I'm a theist that would love to call in and set you two straight. Maybe someday, but for now, I enjoy learning while I float in a bubble on an ocean of deconstruction. Kelly, we've kind of chit-chatted back and forth over the super chats. And I think you might have emailed me or DM'd me on Discord at one point, but you're always welcome to come on the show. We actually do enjoy talking to nice people through some of the logic of the God concept. It doesn't. You don't have to come up here and be a tool like a lot of these callers. In fact, you've probably seen a couple good conversations, and we like them. We don't get that many of them.
I'm also really not just confused, but intrigued, because if there's somebody in a bubble on an ocean of deconstruction, but you're a theist who wants to set us straight, are you deconstructing, or are you trying to reconstruct? I would love to be set straight.
Yeah, she's deconstructing.
But do it when you're ready on your terms. And at the end of the day, just remember this. All you have to do is be honest. And if you don't know, you say you don't know. And if you make an argument that gets rebutted, it's fine to say, let me go think about that and get back to you. Because you know what? You should go then think about it and get back to us, because you should do what you say you do. And that actually also demonstrates that you're willing to consider things, and not just. One of the biggest problems in apologetics is this. It is all about leading the evidence where you want it to go instead of following the evidence where it actually leads. I have a friend, but not friend. Let me take that back. I have someone I admire who is both a brilliant evolutionary biologist and a Mormon. And it confuses the hell out of me. We're not friends. We haven't met. We barely had an email conversation. I'm just a fan. And he's great on a number of science things, but the closer it dips to theology, the more he starts to hedge his language. And he literally said in a video the other day, when talking about this stuff, I shouldn't say literally because I'm going to paraphrase. Essentially, he made the case that if your argument fails, you should go look for a better one. And man, that sounds really good, except that's not true. Because that means you have a conclusion and you are shopping for a new argument. If your argument isn't good enough, you should not hold that position until a sufficient argument comes along. And so it's not just go looking for another one, but taken charitably in the spirit that he meant it, he's functionally correct in that you should not be presenting any arguments or even holding that position until you find a better argument for it. But I worry that it teaches people to go out and look for a justification for what you believe, rather than examining whether your belief is in fact justified and surrendering it until such time as it is. I think there's a very subtle difference there. Hopefully somebody else get some value from that.
I think this one's yours.
Oh, yeah. Not my autocorrect outing me. Yeah. Where it changed guy to gay. Good job, though. I'm not your gay, pal.
I thought that was an autocorrect. Like, I know that quote. I don't remember gay being
I'm not your
quote.
buddy guy. I'm not your guy, pal. I'm not your pal friend. I'm not your friend, buddy. But when you put gay in there, it just makes everything funnier. So good job. Thank you, autocorrect.
And 20 from Misha, good to see you tonight, says, only caught the end of the live, sadly, but I love this duo. Honestly, I used to be nicer to cruel and racist people, thinking they were just ignorant, but now I am more like Matt, and I think some people just need to be told off. It's hard to know. It's hard to feel out which ones need gentle parenting and which ones need spanked. But I would agree, there is a a certain number of them that absolutely need spanked and grounded and sent to their room until they've decided they're going to behave better, for sure.
Metaphorically speaking, nobody should beat kids.
To be clear, anyone who watches my channel knows that I don't approve of violence or spanking. I do not spank children, not mine, not anyone else's.
Yep. We're talking metaphorically now. And by the way, I'm sure I get it wrong. I'm sure I've gotten it wrong hundreds, if not thousands of times over the years with what was the best way for any individual. No excuses. I am who I am. And when I reach the wall, that's it. But I'll tell you this much. I watched a video talking about, oh, there's a better way to do it. And it was a little naive because it's suggesting that they're nice and friendly and cuddly, but that works for everybody. No, it fucking doesn't. I got loads of experience to say that doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, when I'm trying to figure out what's happening and how best to address it, I'm also in a weird environment. If you think like what you see on the show, it's not vastly different from what kind of interaction I might have in public out on the street, except that I don't tend to have those interactions out on the street. I don't go door to door saying, hey, if you stop believing in Jesus, I can help. It is how to do it. Man, everybody's going to have their thoughts on it. And you know what? If you think of a better way, go do it. Why? We need more people doing it in more different ways so that there's not just one option. Put me out of business. Force me into retirement. You're never going to do it by giving me money and pretending that I wasn't able to out-argue the guy that couldn't open a jar. But thanks. Hey, this one's easy. That's just $10 from Charles Gentry. Thank you, Charles. Oh. You're one of my favorite people today. No bullshit.
W.
You hooked us up, made it easy to read.
Speaking of which, $49.99 from AppStrider, big W friend, says Matt and Justin are my sanity for my Wednesdays. Despite the world's current state, we need this service more than ever. You're a gay homie, rock hard for Doug. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I would say this. I too share the concern that you have for this world. It's really crazy right now. There's a lot of scary shit going on right now. And that's why it's really important that we continue to work together as a community, try to do as little infighting as possible and try to change the world for the better. I really believe that when we deconvert people from these toxic religions, the next domino to fall are some of their toxic political ideologies that are driven by the religion.
Yeah. And in the case where, so I agree that they're often driven by the religion. In the case where they're not driven directly by the religion, the religions are used to shield. And so, like, for example, some of my positions changed, some of my political positions changed and social views changed before I stopped believing in a God. I was in the Navy during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That caused some problems because I saw good people who were gay being forced out of a career by absolutely awful people who just hated the fact that they had to be anywhere near someone who was gay. And it made my unit worse. It made the service worse. Everyone was worse off for it. And that was difficult. And then it was, I have family members who are like, they're happy. Justin, what's the verse where he who won't work won't eat?
Oh, that's in Paul's letter, Thessalonians, second, maybe? Let me double check.
Whichever one it is, they'll use that to suggest that they shouldn't be providing money to impoverish people or providing welfare or providing compensation for this. He who won't work shouldn't eat, or he who doesn't work won't eat. When I started seeing that, there was some duplicity and some confusion.
Yeah, Second Thessalonians chapter 3 is where you're looking for that one.
And when I saw that, I'm like, why shouldn't we be helping people? And I had friends, by the way, who were like, "Oh, if I see someone out on the street and they're holding up a sign asking for money, I won't donate to them because they're just going to use it for drugs." And I'm like, well, first of all, um, I understand perhaps not wanting to just hand out money on the street corner. It may be better. It may be better in some circumstances for you to go through organizations to help provide a homeless shelter so that you're helping more than just one individual. Your money may or may not be more efficient there. But then I realized if that person is legitimately just out there living on the street, has no one and nobody, and I give them $20 and they use it to get high, okay. I don't get to decide how somebody spends their money. If they went and saw the new Marvel movie instead of getting a haircut and looking for whatever it is that added some bit of joy or lessened the misery in their life, I'm okay with that. And that changed the way I looked at people who don't have a house. I have family members who think they're all lazy and that they deserve it. And I'm like, what Jesus were you listening to? Because that's not what I got out of it. And you know what? I can't even use that argument anymore because it's the big book multiple choice. And you can make Jesus say almost anything you want to.
I mean,
not
Jesus
quite,
didn't have a home. He was literally homeless and didn't have a job. So,
Yeah.
I mean, dude was out there panhandling, just saying. We got $10 from Bosom756 has wanted to thank Matt and Justin for their work. Always loved watching The Line or AXP since I was a teenager. It helped me deal with my father's death more than being religious did for me. 25 now. Wow, that's interesting.
Thank you so
much. I would
much.
say, yeah, like that's a hard thing to deal with. I remember when my dad passed, I struggled a lot wrestling with that particular thing. And my heart goes out to you. It's tough, but we're glad that you're in a good place, my friend.
I can't imagine. So I'm 56. I just saw my dad the other day, and he's dealing with some health issues. Can't imagine if I'd have lost him before I was 25. I mean, yeah, thank you for the kind words. It's really, really important and significant. Thank you. $10 from Charles Gentry. Matt, you say, wow, what's going on? Matt, you saved my life 10 years ago and helped me find my way out of faith. Thank you. Thank you. I already said you were my favorite person when you sent a super chat without any message, and now you send a message that. Thank you, genuinely. If anything I've ever said that ever benefited anybody, it makes all of it worth it. Plus the fact that I'm just here irritating Andrew Wilson by existing and not shutting up, that also makes it worth it. So much that his little drones keep coming over. It's awesome.
Yeah. We can't do the show without the audience, friends. Y'all are here making the show possible too.
I have to put something light on it because in the same way that Jimmy's not particularly good at taking compliments, I'm not that bad. I'm generally just thrilled that I ever did anything good and that people value. And you guys tell me about it every week. I need Wednesdays. I hate it when I have to miss a Wednesday.
Yep. 1999 from Human Secularist. As a music teacher in a blue state with a rainbow sticker on my door, when will I be officially labeled a domestic terrorist? Before or after November? I don't know. Love you guys.
A couple months ago.
Listen, it sounds like you're on the list. I don't know. Have you checked? I think you're already tagged, buddy. Be safe out there, please.
Yeah. See, I know I'm on the list. $10 from Booget. Sorry, my bad. G.
No worries, Fred.
I forget what it was. Oh, I remember what it was. Yeah, no big deal. There's all kinds of stuff that I won't say. If you guys knew some of what I thought, you'd come hug me and be like, me too.
Booget, you've been in a lot of these live streams helping and supporting. We appreciate that. And 1999 from Kelseek says, I'm always late catching these live streams, but at least I caught the ending of this one. Team Arden, Team Matt, gay for Justin. Don't even know if the team thing is still a thing, but I'm assuming it is. It is. And guess what? You're on the team. Thanks for supporting the channel.
You also did the teams in the exact. Well, no, you did them in almost the right order. Arden has to be first, or Justin and I aren't going to be doing this. I guess you can put me second, since technically this is my show. Whenever we end up doing Justin's show, you put Justin before me. That's good enough. But definitely put Arden first. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. $10 from Simeon Urchin. Still don't get the theist assertion that something can't come from nothing. Yeah, intuitively. But if you think about it, why would that hold true if there was truly nothing, including universal laws? It is weird with their version of laws, where they're prescriptive rather than descriptive. With descriptive laws, then there has to be something for there to be laws. And in this case, based on some Feynman lectures, I'm going to go with electromagnetism. He gave this. There's a YouTube channel out there that is uploading in fairly small doses a lot of Feynman's lectures, and one of them sent me down a really strange thought line, so much that I immediately reached out to Dr. Aaron Adair and said, I might need some help. I'm having some issues with this particular understanding with regard to photons and time, and it's leading into philosophical discussions about existence. And he sent me a link to a lecture that he happened to be giving the very next day, which, because of our trip, I haven't had a chance to listen to. So, Aaron, if you see this, I still plan to go watch it and then talk to you about it. So thanks very much for the quick answer. Physics is weird.
It really is. We got $10 again from Misha. Thank you so much. Says the line does such important work. I grew up in Pakistan, surrounded by Muslims, and had nobody to speak openly to or discuss religion. I love that we are all here together in our skepticism. Much love. And listen, we're glad that you're safe. That's certainly scary, growing up in a culture where it's dangerous to apostatize. I mean, to be fair, if that wasn't the case, I would imagine a lot more people would be doing it. But we're glad that you're safe and doing well, friend.
We got a couple more that came in right here at the last couple of minutes here. $10 from Doc Pleromanot, asking for the Phil Bros with the mat fetish. Do you and Arden exchange false or dilemmas or category errors to spice things up, or is that against house rules? I will take this in the best possible spirit. The bullshit we throw out for our own amusement, I'm going to be dumb and I'm going to say something obviously fallacious and antagonizing and annoying just to kind of we're doing great. We will do we say some really dumb shit, don't we, babe?
Oh, 100%. We definitely debate each other all the time in our personal lives. It's just stupid and unserious and intentionally obtuse.
Yep.
So just like Christians, but in good faith.
Yes.
$9.99 from Kayla Albertson says, my dad died when I was 13. Sorry to hear that. He was 53. The evangelical coping mechanism my mom did was harmful to my brother and I. I'm 24 now. My brother and sister are atheists. We deal with it better. Actually, I don't disagree. I remember being a theist when my father died. And when I became an atheist, I lost other relatives as well. And I thought to myself, I wish I had started life as more in like the atheist and never converted Christianity. I feel like it prepares you for death, whereas theism doesn't prepare you for death. It prepares you to live in denial of reality. That's about it, right? You're just believing things that aren't true. At least when you're young and you think that death is final, you can prepare yourself for it.
Yeah, I think religions generally, and some more specifically, have done humanity a great disservice by stealing the narrative about how we look at life and death if you grow up with the understanding that death is the inevitable end of existence, and that if in fact there's anything beyond life, it's a bonus that you don't know anything about. It encourages you to not only treat people right the one and only time you know you're going to interact with them, but it also means that you don't get the coping mechanism of, oh, I'll see them again in heaven. You don't get to have that kind of excuse. You don't get, oh, God needed an angel, which isn't biblical at all, but I've heard that probably more than anything. People don't become angels under any doctrine I'm aware of. But anyway, there's no reason to think it's true. If instead you are given the coping mechanisms to interact with people, knowing that someday I'm not going to get to interact with them, someday I'm going to miss this, I think, not an expert, not a psychologist, I think the ability to cope and to experience grief properly in a much more healthy way is only possible once you are free from religious bullshit proclamations about lives and afterlives. But can't prove it. $20 from Kelky. Oh, hashtag Team Arden, hashtag Team Matt, mistake corrected. There you go. And welcome. Thank you. That's incredibly kind to have some fun with that.
And 999 more from Liberty Giblets. One time I went into the confession booth and the priest was sitting there with a guitar trying to finger, oof.
Oh, man.
A minor. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Woo. All right. That's horrible. That's terrible.
I will tell you my all-time favorite joke in that vein. And then we got another super chat just came in. If you haven't seen the comedy documentary, The Aristocrats, you should. And it's basically everybody telling the same dirty joke or their version of this filthy, ridiculously filthy joke over and over for the entire documentary. It's put together by Penn Jillette and Paul Provenza. But right at the very end of it, they tell a completely different joke. Just one person. Sorry to potentially ruin this, but I laughed my ass off. After an hour and a half, whatever it is, of hearing some version of the Aristocrats over and over again, somebody, and I've forgotten who, says, I was out to dinner the other night, and there was a priest eating dinner at another table, and I didn't know whether to send him a bottle of wine or a Cub Scout.
Oh.
And that was just so absolutely jarring after all the other stuff that it instantly became my favorite joke on that subject.
We've got 10 more from Iris Moon. Oh, sorry, was this yours or mine? I lost.
I don't know.
I'll grab it. I will never forget my mom telling me. Oh no, I read the last one because I read the A minor at the end. Sorry about that.
Well,
I got distracted by the cat.
Chord. I will never forget my mom telling me at 10 years old how she needed God to love me and my siblings and how she loved him more than us. Pretty sad to require God for that. Yep. It's strange. I probably should at some point I'll do a video on my channel about the concept of love, because it's like, oh, there's no hate like Christian love, but it's way more complicated than that, because different people's views of love from different denominations and different traditions and stuff, I don't know that they're all equally broken or problematic. But it's rare that I run across something that I truly recognize as love encapsulated in some version of religion. And there are people who are like, oh, love is when you treat each other as equals. And to me, I don't know that love is when you treat someone else as an equal. I think love is when you treat someone else as if they're more important than you are. And if they aren't willing to and able to see that they are more important, or that you see them as more important, then you should be making every effort for them to know that And then saying I love you, still nice. Oh, saying I love. No, I'm gonna do that. You'll clip it. It's about showing it. And when you just recognize, at the end of the day, we are selfish, and you can build the guise of altruism beginning with nothing but selfishness. And I think for me to recognize and act as if the people I love are more valuable than I am, which I don't always do, and I failed to do sometimes, that should be the goal. Because that to me is why someone would never have to question. And I don't need people to question, hey, does Matt care about? I need you to know where you stand with me. And it's not very hard to figure out. And if you don't know, you can ask me. Several people found out today, and some of them aren't as happy with where they stand with me as they expected, and others might be a little surprised. But what I found is that from the theists, it's always some kind of love that I just can't recognize. It's love adjacent. And I don't believe in, forever love and stringless love and love with it. No, it's not a fantasy thing. It is about relationships where it's really easy on most occasions to value somebody else's happiness and well-being ahead of your own, because that makes you happy. You can, that's selfish. I want to be happy. I'm happier, happy wife, happy life. I want to be happy. And what makes me happy is when the people I love are happy. What better way to do that? One last super chat and then we're done.
So we got 10 from Secular Felinist. Hey, I approve of that. Ever hear of a reverse exorcism? Oh, I know this one. It's when the demon commands the priest to exit the boy. Ooh, ooh. I mean, that is the case. I wish it weren't true. Team Faraday, Team Volta. Hey, we do love Faraday and Volta around here.
True.
Thank you so much.
We went to some wild places. Justin, always a pleasure. Thank you for granting us with your time today. It is so much fun. Stop being missing. Get back to streaming. By the way, we're resetting up my studio, and now that I've had a channel with over 200,000 subscribers that I've finally got around to monetizing, I'm going to be doing some lives too. So I'm going to reach out to Justin and Jovan and a bunch of my other friends to get tips on how to not fuck it all up, because I'm prone to doing that. In the meantime, thank you, everybody, for being here on Wednesday. Thank you to the people who called in, honest and dishonest. Thank you to the people who offered super chats. You can support us at patreon.com/call-the-line. You can like, you can subscribe, you can go to linemerch.com. But by all means, spread the word. Get better callers out here. We all want better communications. We want fewer trolls. We want the people who can acknowledge when they don't have a good argument and come back with a better one, or even better. Come back and say, wow, I don't believe that anymore, and I won't until there's a better argument. Take care of yourselves.